welcome back to Pickles and Pints. We're going to do a normal episode, although it's going to be hardly normal because we've just spent an hour troubleshooting some IT issues. But we, as usual, are going to talk about all our favorite pop culture topics, TV shows, movies, video games, etc., while trying some tasty craft beer. My brain's not fucking working, and if you couldn't
just
already
about
tell,
to say you've got sick brain.
Yeah, I've got sick brain. So joining me, as always, is Dan.
Hello. After many, many technical difficulties, we're here.
And Tom.
G'day, fuckheads.
I'm glad we got that 60-second buffer. So
Yeah, no, that's what I thought I'd throw it out there.
Yes. I look like Casper again, maybe, because I'm just trying to read the back of the can I just cracked open.
That's okay. I'm
Let's start with some beers.
Yeah.
I'll go first because I've half drunk mine because I didn't have to do anything in the tech support except sing the Golden Valley Gold theme multiple times.
Go.
But I'm having the Hop Nation and Garage Project Pig Dog NZ Pilsner, which is a Kiwi spin on the Rattenhund traditional Pilsner that Hop Nation make. They have added to this one, they use their floor malted Bohemian Pilsner malt and then some NZ hops, Rawaka and Pacifica. And it pours a very crisp, and it's going to be a little like naturally cloudy as it's been sitting here, slowly going through it. But it definitely has a nice little zesty character to it. That really nice bready malt all the way through. It's very, very delicious at 5%. Great to sit on while you watch two guys figure out what's wrong with the computer. I'm going to give that straight off the bat a 4.5. Fucking delicious.
Very nice. Good.
Oh. Yum, 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 yum.
Peter, what are you treating your
my
disease-riddled body to?
Ever since the round of therapy, I haven't been that disease-riddled. I'm drinking a beer from Brew we haven't tried before, actually, on the show. So this is Molly Rose Brewing Co.'s Radler, Heaps Mandarin.
Yeah.
Now
I had some Molly Rose. I had two Molly Roses, didn't I? Or did I drink them off camera?
You drank them off camera, my friend.
They're really good. They're fast becoming my new favourite brewery.
My second beer is a Molly Rose too. So
yeah, right. So this is a low alc. I don't know that it's I don't think it's considered a true low alc. It's 2.9%. So it's just a very low ABV normal beer. And I don't know what a Radler is in terms of a style, but I can tell you it's almost like a rice beer. It's very, very pale.
Radlers are light German beers that usually have lime added to them. Kind of their version of a shandy.
Yeah, okay. Well, in this case, it's Mandarin, given it's called Heaps Mandarin. And I've got to say, it's fucking excellent, actually. I expected it to be super thin, but it's almost, if it wasn't as thin as it is in reality, it wouldn't suit the style, if that makes sense. So, and it has changed from the very first sip to 3 or 4 sips in, it actually has changed, but I don't know if that's because I've got some sort of non-COVID upper respiratory tract infection. So obviously my taste buds aren't on point. But I got a lot of Mandarin in that first hit, and it almost tasted. It's funny. Tom was saying bready. It almost tasted bready. Don't know why. It doesn't really make much sense, but it's not. It doesn't have that Pilsner malt kind of quality to it, but it is something that's a bit different. It's not what I would expect. So it's not a lager, and you can tell it's not a lager.
Yeah, I've been eyeing that Radler off every time I've placed an order, so I might get some and see what it's like.
Yeah, I think you should. I'm going to give it a 4. That's impressive for a 2.9%. That is very impressive.
And I've broken my hatred streak of a certain style.
Wow,
it's a wet hop hazy.
Oh,
Sapphire Coast, wet hop hazy from Sika down in Wollongong, and it's really good. It's probably not as hoppy as what I would expect from a hop pellet one, but it's only two. Got me thinking in twos of alcohol content now. 5.4%. So it's a hazy. It's definitely a hazy pale, not a hazy IPA. So it passes on that hop character level, but the fruit character that's coming off that, really nice tropical fruit characters coming off that. It's got a good aroma to it. It's got a good haze level to it. It's a pretty color. It's holding its head retention really well. It's a really, really excellent version of what wet hop beer should be, and definitely the first one I've had that not only thought was good but actually enjoyed. So well done, Sequoias.
Happy days. That's the reward you needed after all that tech.
I've got to be honest. There was about halfway through that, I'm like, fuck it, I'm giving up, and I'm opening this beer because it's been staring me in the face for about 2.5 weeks in the fucking fridge. So I almost did finish it and not drink it on the podcast because I honestly didn't think we were going to get that sound issue sorted out. So,
I didn't think we were either.
Well, it's done and it's good, and I think this is a absolutely solid beer. It's a 4.75 every day of the week.
Yeah, wow. Fucking heavy hitters early on in the podcast. I think everyone's just happy to be fucking recording. We're going to have to talk through everything pretty quickly because we got places to be after this. So
don't worry about it.
That's okay. We can talk fast. Let's kick off with some news.
We interrupt this broadcast with some breaking news from the front.
Go Peter Ranger.
I put this entry in just for Dan because he was so animatedly upset that they were making a Barbie movie and that it was an example of how broken society in a consumeristic or capitalistic world it is to even be making a Barbie movie. And here we are 2 weeks after it opened, and it's just about to break the $1 billion mark, which
it just goes to prove it wasn't for me.
Mental. Yeah,
it's apparently very. I've had multiple people have seen it, and multiple people who that's actually friends from work who do a film podcast, and they rave about how good it is. But again, it's just, I'm not interested in seeing that or Oppenheimer. Couldn't give a flying fuck about either of them. So
I watch Oppenheimer.
I did love the Barbie Oppenheimer crossover though. So there was I'm actually, you need to forward the picture that I put in chat, Tom, to your fiance, please, because I was talking to her about it when we went to see Sisu, and she laughed her head off. And I forgot to mention it to you. So in Japan, they accidentally put the Barbie subtitles over the top of the Oppenheimer movie, and so now it's become a thing. Barbieheimer, or was it?
Oh, Barbenheimer's been going. That's been going for since they announced they're releasing on the same day. That's been the tagline for a while.
But that's how they fucked it up. Sorry, Tom. Dan?
Just a pleasant coincidence that they ended up doing that, putting the subtitles. How do you do that? You can only do that in a digital age, I reckon.
Yes.
You couldn't have done that in an analog age.
No, because in an analog age, the subtitles would have been baked into the film.
On the film, yeah.
So anyway,
interesting.
Next little piece of news, and we will talk. We are not going to spend an hour on Witcher 3, but we will talk about Witcher Season 3.
Yes.
But we will
get these things correct.
But we will talk
about Witcher 3. Have you ever heard of a game called Gwent?
But we will talk about Witcher Season 3 later on in the podcast. But there is a bit of news associated with it, which just made me laugh in disgust. So Witcher producer Tomek Baginski blames dumb Americans for the failure of the Witcher franchise.
Sorry, it just sounds like a Polish hobbit.
Tomek Baginski.
Baginski Hill.
And he's quoted as saying, when a series is made for huge, massive viewers with different experiences from different parts of the world, and a large part of them are Americans, these simplifications not only make sense, they are necessary. He was talking to Hollywood Reporter. It's painful for us and for me too, but the higher level of nuance and complexity will have a smaller range. It won't reach people. So and so he's all previously been quoted. So essentially what he's saying, and it was so back into the context from the Hollywood Reporter article that he was talking to or talking about. He was talking about why it went from hideously complex and confusing in season 1 to a much simpler and a much less successful season 2, and then a complete flop with Blood Origin, and then an even bigger flop with season 3. Apparently, it's not been striking audiences at all. And that was his answer, was essentially to say Americans are dumb, so we had to dumb down the storyline. But he's also previously suggested the show was forced to simplify its story for younger audiences, quote again, as inspired only by emotions rather than plot after being raised on things like YouTube and TikTok. So again, he's just blaming the kids. Meanwhile, and I love this, Sapkowski has just announced that he's writing his first new Witcher novel in over 10 years.
Yes!
Yeah,
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I put that in there for you, mate.
Nice.
So, yeah, he said, I don't usually like to say stuff like this because it always comes back to haunt me, because someone asked him what he's working on. He said, I don't usually like saying this, but I'm working on a Witcher novel. So that was his announcement.
Dan, quickly pre-orders.
Hear him clicking. Ahsoka, it's a little tidbit. Ahsoka opens later this month with a double episode. So they're going to be releasing it bit by bit, which is a little annoying. But the first 2 episodes will drop at the same time towards the end of August. And it will be movie feature length, so an hour and a half, basically, between the 2 eps.
I still don't mind it. I like having my weekly little thing to look forward to, rather than the big dump. I know that Disney Plus is now changing that with Loki and stuff going forward, but it's just something to get me through the week. Be like, it's Wednesday, it's Star Wars night, or it's Saturday morning, it's Bad Batch time. One of those things.
Yeah, totally get that.
There's no information on that novel.
Not yet, no.
Yeah.
He's only just announced it.
Yeah.
And then this little piece of information I found surprising. So Gal Gadot has confirmed that James Gunn and whatever his name, Safran's version of DC Studios are developing a third Wonder Woman movie after the previous threequel was axed. So they were always going to do. Patty Jenkins was always planning 3 Wonder Woman movies. Yeah, I know I got that wrong. Sorry, I recovered.
Well, it could be if they're going to bring in Wonder Girl. There could be multiples.
Yeah. Yep. So this is basically going to be a reboot rather than a sequel. But Gal Gadot seems to have survived the mass sackings, so she will be reprising her role in a reboot of Wonder Woman. And I find that really surprising. It basically says that if they felt that they had cast any of the other actors well enough, then they may well have kept them past that threshold of wiping out everything that came before.
Yeah, right.
So still, but isn't Momoa still getting an Aquaman too?
That's because they'd already finished principal shooting before Safran and Gunn took over.
So
if you've already sunk $800 million out of $1 billion into a movie, why the fuck wouldn't you just finish it?
That's a good point.
I mean, they put the Flash out with all the shit that they've gone through for that.
Feckle. Yep.
I just found it interesting that, hey, well, then there's no fucking reason to have gotten rid of Cavill as Superman then. Because if Gal Gadot can survive the mass execution, then surely he could have.
Well, I think the only reason they would do things like that would be they want to take Superman in a different direction.
Well, they've announced the new Superman.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So he's very different.
Yeah, they want to take it in a different direction. So having the same character in, I think it would just
confuse audiences.
Dumb audiences would confuse the people that aren't in the depths of it, like we tend to get. If he was a drastically different Superman going into another one. But I think with Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, I think there's enough pivot room there because they were set in different times. You had the World War I story and then you had a 1984 story. So I think if they're going to do a modern era set, I think they've got more than enough pivot room to change her character if they have to.
Yeah.
And is my take on it is why that actor would survive on.
Why it would makes sense. Apparently, the third entry from Patty Jenkins was based on a 2017 era Wonder Woman. So modern. So it went from World War I to 80s to now.
Yeah, well, then that makes perfect sense. Yeah. I think they've got more than enough room to pivot there a little bit. But I mean, realistically, I don't think they will because I think her character even in the 1984 one, I know a lot of people hated it, but I just got old Christopher Reeve Superman vibes from it, so I didn't mind it.
Yeah.
And I know it had its massive issues on storytelling and all that sort of stuff, but I thought there were some good moments in there. And I think that will slip straight easily into a more positive Superman story over the Man of Steel and BVS side of things. So I think there wouldn't actually be that much pivoting. So I can see how it makes sense.
Yeah, fair enough.
Still haven't seen it, but whatever.
Don't. It's not worth your time, Tom. Trust me. Yep.
Over to you for the news, Tom.
Oh, yes. Well, Peter, I threw some Assassin's Creed news at you there.
You did.
The Ubisoft developer was interviewed recently, and he said that Mirage is actually a much shorter entry in the series, about 25 to 30 hours for a platinum playthrough or a completionist. Main story taking around 20 hours, and that the size of Baghdad will be roughly the size of Paris from Unity in terms of the scope of it. But
Paris wasn't small. Unity's
but I think it's
game.
more. It's not going to be the 100 hours you have to sink into Odyssey or Valhalla. Even though I still haven't started that, but yeah.
I can't help but think that's related to the fact that they're trying to develop 11 AC games simultaneously.
Yeah, I left out all the stuff that was in the news about the codename J, the mobile, because I didn't think anyone really cared.
No.
The other bit that did come up, which I forgot to write in there, but it's still in my little brain hole, was that there's no planned DLC for this entry either. So it's just Mirage, and that's what you get.
One and done. Yeah,
and done. Yeah.
Just feels to me like they're just they're rushing to something.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I'm not sure what, but they're rushing to something. It just feels like 20 hours is sloppy considering all of their games. I mean, even if you think what was can't remember the Syndicate was a tiny map set in London. I know London felt big, but in the scheme of like Rome and all of the other settings that you'd gone through, London was quite small in the end. And yet that was a full-fledged game. So like a full-length game. So for them to be putting out a new game at 20 hours, to me it feels like they're trying to rush towards their new VR Animus multi-game fucking system they're trying to build, where it's basically AC becomes a platform to deliver game content rather than putting out an actual game. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, original AC kind of been more than 20, 25 hours. You're going to quickly look that up?
Yeah, I am. Because it's an interesting comment.
It didn't have any, from memory, have side quests or anything like that. And I know it's a lot older, but
15 hours.
Yeah.
A completionist playthrough will take at least 30. And I guess it depends on how long you were sitting there listening to people talk before figuring out your quarry. I guess if you're a dumb American who doesn't understand Witcher Season 3, then it might take longer.
It's going to be the running joke now for a little while.
I think it might even be the title, just Dumb Americans.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. How to alienate at least half of your audience.
No, you got to write it like one of those Albert Einstein quotes where it has dumb Americans and then whatever his name is below it. No, misquoting people might get us in trouble too.
Yeah. We'll just call it Seppos. There you go.
Anyway, some Magic the Gathering news for our little card playing friends out there,
which is fucking bullshit news.
This is also weird. So they've created the new Lord of the Rings shoot off of Magic the Gathering, and as part of that, the big hullabaloo that got into this was they created one ring card in the entire world. They only printed one. It was given a 9 out of 10 rating or whatever. Some dude found it, and for reasons unknown to man, God, society, he decided to sell it for $2 million. Well, it was valued at $2 million. They haven't said how much he sold it for, but he sold it to Post Malone, the recording artist.
He sold it for 1.87.
Well, there you go. I didn't see that it was an actual figure put on it.
And the real noise about this was essentially that this card was essentially made to sell to Post Malone.
Right.
Essentially, because Post Malone had already held the world record for the most.
Is he a Magic the Gathering? Is
yes,
he
he was a mad MTG fan.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense, right? Yeah. Because I wasn't sure of the connection. The article I read wasn't very clear on it.
So he had already set the world record for the most money ever paid for a rare card, and that was 850,000 US for a 9.9 quality. I can't remember what it was, like a shadow something. I don't know. And so the theory is that for the guys that make Magic the Gathering, I can't remember who the company is. It's not Wizards of the Coast, is it? It might actually be. Sorry, there's probably got listeners screaming at me right now. How can you not fucking know? It's Hasbro. So the rumor essentially was that Hasbro created this one print card specifically to try and sell it to Post Malone.
Just give a man a card.
Whoever would, yeah, but it
the
creates
fan could
hype
get it
and interest and
because it was just placed in like a random deck.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, it wasn't like you couldn't get hold of it except if you opened a 10-pack and it was in there.
Which is so fucking stupid too. Because what happens if that pack had been like set on fire accidentally and a card store burnt down? Then no one would ever have found the card. It's such a stupid ploy.
I mean, if that was the case, if it wasn't found in like the certain time, I'm sure they just would have printed another one. Here we go. Yeah. We've still got the file. We'll just whip out that JPEG and just slap it on with some glue. There you go.
Well, the fireys are sifting through the ashes of this card store and just pick this thing up, and it's just the writing's
it's the one ring card
for a couple of seconds.
Everything else is burnt around it except the card.
Yeah.
That'd be so much cooler.
And then as it cools, the fucking writing disappears.
Yeah, the packet disappears like the envelope.
Yeah. I'm less angry about that news now. Okay, that's good. Well done. Thank you, Peter. Context. I didn't realize that he was such a massive.
Yeah, he's a mad
Magic
MTG fan. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Well, in that case, enjoy it, Mr. Malone.
It's like Cavill with his fucking Warhammer 40k.
Oh, okay. That's good. Well, there you go. So yeah, and some random dude got $2 million or 1.8.
What a society we live in, though. Like, you think about it, when we were growing up, we used to get the shit kicked. Well, no, maybe not literally, but certainly alienated because we were into comic books. We were the nerds. And now, not only do we have Cavill, one of the biggest movie stars in Hollywood at the moment, openly, talking about Warhammer 40k and how much he loves playing Dungeons and Dragons and painting miniatures and playing board games. And now you've got one of the world's most accoladed current musicians, a mad fan for the nerdiest, stinkiest fucking card game in history. It's just, geez, we've come a long way in 30, 40 years.
It's our time to rise. The revolution is now.
Yeah, right. Revenge of the nerds.
Speaking of revenge, Ubisoft, because they're a bunch of dicks, apparently have canned an unannounced Fenyx Rising sequel, which I'm a bit annoyed about because I really liked that game. That was a really fun little one. Apparently this one was going to be set in Polynesia as well. So they'd started doing some proof of concept stuff for it.
Yeah, I heard that. That would have been really interesting.
Yeah, and it involved shape-shifting, controlling elements, all that kind of stuff. And it was like, yeah, that sounds sick. And they've gone, nah, we're not going to do it. It's like,
psych.
You know what? Ubisoft, you can fuck off.
Suck a fat one.
Yeah. Peter, again for you. Fuck, I'm nice to you today. Bethesda have put out a bunch of animated shorts showcasing the 3 major cities in Starfield on the YouTube page. I
haven't seen that yet. I'm going to watch that after this recording.
Yeah, I thought that might be nice for you, a little thing. So yeah, they're up there now. They can jump on the Bethesda page and watch that. Kind of reminds me of I don't know if you guys remember watching all that Star Wars Old Republic. They used to do that as well. They do like a history of certain events leading up to like things you'd play in the game. And I think it's meant to be like that. It's like they focus on one character who lives in that city and gives you a perspective of what you're kind of in for,
that's cool.
Which is
I like
nice
that.
little world building thing, like externally, if you're interested. And lastly, we got some new PS Plus games for those who are interested. You've got PGA Tour 20K23, which is golf. If anyone wants to play golf on their PlayStation, I can think of nothing worse because golf sucks. You got Dreams, which is you build games within the game and you share it. It's apparently quite fun and creative. It's from the same studio that brought like Little Big Planet. So they've always kind of done these games where you build things within their engine. And then Death's Door, which is a kind of cartoony isometric action adventure game where you battle demons and monsters and all sorts of good things. And for those, this isn't one of the free games, but they also, got to put it out there, Pete, but they have put a High on Life has been sneakily released on PlayStation basically a week after Pete bought an Xbox.
I didn't buy the Xbox to play the game. It was a kind of a side benefit to it. I'm glad though. For about 10 minutes, I'm like, fucking mongrel bastards. But then it's like, no, because it means you guys get to play the game if you want to.
Yeah, definitely. If it goes on the on any of the tiers of PS Plus, I'll definitely grab it. Or if it goes, it's been like $80 at the moment. I'm not that keen to play it.
Yeah. Which is the only reason
the thing I'd love to see from you, Pete, is if you do go and replay it on the PlayStation, if you find which one handles better.
Yeah, I will definitely, because I was thinking I should buy a game on Xbox that I've already finished on PlayStation 5 just to see the mechanics. The quality is different, the different physical mechanics from the controllers. But anyway, we'll talk about that towards the end with Are You Winning, Son? I think I'll just briefly talk about the Xbox.
Yeah.
Cool. Should we get into the second beer?
Let's get into a second beer. I'm going to crack one.
We're making up some time, which is good.
Well, I'm going to jump straight in. I've got a dark wheat beer, much to Tom's disgust.
Gross. Fuck.
From Deeds Brewing. So I saw this on there and Pete's got it too. Well, Pete, I had to get the pronunciation of this right. So I messaged the token German and asked him to pronounce it for me.
Can I have a guess first?
Yeah, sure.
Schadenfreude?
Close.
Yeah, cool.
So direct from the head brewer at Philter. Here we go.
Hey, Dan. Yeah, sure can. So this is pronounced Schadenfreude.
Freude.
I repeat, Schadenfreude.
That's cool.
There we go. I really like it.
Thank you, Max, who's now head brewer at Philter, isn't he?
I said that just before.
Oh, did you? Sorry,
I did.
Block you.
I think it's really nice. It's a nice subtle wheat beer. It's not over the top in the esters or anything like that. It's funny, the dark malts don't really provide too much malt characteristic to it. It's still. I guess it's kind of does have that a bit more of a malty backbone to it, but the ester flavor profile's down. Mine's been sitting out for the whole hour and a half now since the tech difficulties.
So is mine.
Which is actually what I wanted to do. Why I got it out of the fridge at the start when we were meant to start was to let it warm up a bit. I think it's really nice. I think it's a really good, probably. Oh yeah, any time of year, I reckon. I'd like to sit there in
it's
sort
not
of
a dark,
spring or autumn.
Yeah, it's not a dark that's just a winterish beer. For me, so I disagree, and maybe and this is probably going to be because of my cold or whatever this is. First of all, you get hit by a shitload of banana esters, which, as you mentioned, the ester profile's really down. I get black malt.
Yeah, there definitely is some malt there. I just
it's almost coffee grinds.
Yeah, and it does have that sort of bitter astringency to those darker malts too. I don't know. I guess I just expected it maybe to be a little bit stronger.
I mean, it is only 5%.
It's still only a very light bodied wheat beer as well. So I guess that would have overpowered everything if they'd thrown and probably put it out of balance if it had been too heavy on the dark malts. It's very enjoyable.
Because you do have to balance it. Bananas, I mean, whilst the banana ester is strong, I reckon you could easily have overbalanced it with too much dark malt.
Yeah.
No, I'm enjoying this, and it's cool to see and like a different dark beer, like an unusual dark beer.
Yeah, and I mean, it's one of the reasons why I got it too. I've been drinking plenty of stouts and imperial stouts lately, so it was nice to grab something that was just a little bit different and a little bit lighter too.
Do you get any, I don't want to say farmhouse, but that almost Belgian yeast, the ester profile reminds me, it's like an echo of the Belgian yeast flavors.
Yeah, I mean, they are kind of similar. The Belgian and like French Saison side of things is a bit more spicy and peppery. This is the German wheat beer side of things. Always it leans more towards that lolly, banana, clove, cinnamony kind of side of the spice spectrum. Not quite as kind of peppery as the Belgian and that can be. Yeah,
I'm thoroughly enjoying this. So I'm going to give it a 4.5.
Yeah, 4.25.
All right, let's go with that. 4.25.
Well, I can't give it a 4.5. So,
Tom, what are you drinking, mate?
That's your uncle talking. I am drinking the Molly Rose Short and Stout Dry Stout. You can see that. There you go.
Yep.
Happy days. It is 4.3%. The whole thing is they want to be a little easy drinking little stout. It's weird. I don't get any like smokiness on the nose or anything, but it tastes real bacony like when I'm having it, which I obviously enjoy. So I'm wondering if they are using some smoke malts in there. I've tried to just had a quick look up. I couldn't see anything about it. It is very sessionable, and definitely something you could happily enjoy in warmer weather. But is going down a treat in some, cold, rainy Saturday. But yeah, I would. It's throwing me off that I normally get that hit of smoky malt right on when you stick your nose in it, but now. Yeah, getting that kind of bacony flavor you normally get from smoke malt beers at the back. Otherwise, it's very, very light. It's very good. I'm going to give that a 4. It's delicious.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Still, yeah.
Very good.
Throwing me off.
All right. I'm going to, I've got a lot here, and I suspect that at least some of it you guys are going to be able to weigh in on, just some mini reviews. So has anyone else seen The Flash?
Nah.
Nope. That was a no, and when neither of us are going to either.
I got to say, and I know this.
I mean, I'll watch it when it's on a streaming. Like I saw Black Adam the other night, and I was like, "Oh fuck it, I've got a edible in the cupboard. Maybe I'll have that and watch Black Adam."
I still refuse to pay for what's it called? The sequel of Shazam.
Shazam 2?
Yeah, I said
Fury of the Gods?
Yeah, that's it. I said I refuse to fucking pay for that movie, and to this day, and it's almost been 6 months now, they're still not streaming it for free, so fuck them. It was a complete box office flop, and apparently, is it Justin Levy? Is that his name?
Zachary.
Levi.
Zach Levi. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know where the fuck I got Justin from. He's just digging holes at the moment with some of his commentary. He seems to have blamed everyone but himself as to why that movie flopped. And now he's making some weird comments about the Hollywood strikes.
Why would it be his fault if it flopped? I don't know. I thought he was.
I thought he
fine in
wrote,
the first
directed,
one.
and fucking starred in it, didn't he?
Oh, did he?
I don't know.
Oh.
So
You continue. I will look that up.
I'm just gonna, that's it. Just gonna throw that fucking bomb over the fence. So I have the unpopular opinion that I actually enjoyed the Flash movie.
I don't think that's an unpopular opinion. Maybe in this setting, but
it's not.
I think a fair few people enjoyed the movie. They thought it was a lot better than they thought it would be, I think is probably.
It definitely was a lot better than I thought it would be. I feel like their treatment of the actual Flashpoint break, where he goes back in time and fucks the universe. I actually think that the Flash TV series, the CW TV series, did a better job of the video, the actual graphics, the special effects.
Yeah.
Having two of, what's their name? I can't remember.
Barry Allen's.
No,
Ezra Miller's.
Ezra Miller.
Two Ezra Millers, thank you.
Wasn't there 3 in the end? Wasn't there some grotesque Speed Force fucked up
no.
Flash monster?
Well, there is the Speed Force demons, like there was in the Flashpoint section of the CW series, but I don't think it was him playing it. Maybe it was.
Yeah, I think it is.
Oh no, you're right. It was. You're right.
Yeah.
It was. I do remember that. Sorry, but what really got me
Was
in
that a
the
blink
movie,
and you'll miss it moment?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was. Oh, fuck off, Tom.
That was a great little Flash show.
It was.
Come on.
Yeah, it was a little. But look. First and foremost, CW did a better rendition of the actual core storyline. But having Michael Keaton come back as Batman was fucking brilliant. Supergirl, and then revisiting the big bad from the Superman movie. Zod. Thank you. revisiting that just reminded me that they really, 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 really should have done another Cavill Superman movie. I feel like it was a complete waste of Cavill's talent because he was in my opinion, he was a fucking great Superman.
Yeah, we've all said we really enjoyed Man of Steel.
And then he got vacuumed up into the fucking Justice League like bullshit tumbler, and he never got a second film. I enjoyed him in BVS, but he needed his own standalone film. And having Supergirl done so well and in the same style, in terms of like the realistic physics that you expect out of a fucking Nolan film from Man of Steel, where when he takes off, There's no inertia. He just fucking lifts off at ultrasonic speeds or hypersonic speeds. They did the same thing with her.
Right.
Supergirl was brilliant. The suit was excellent. It was well tailored. It was modernized. I felt a little New 52, I've got to say, stylistically. But no, I thought the film was actually really fucking good. So
it's funny what you were just saying about Cavill Superman taking off. There was this really interesting, and it was almost a throwaway line that was in one of the comics that was put out, said by one of Darkseid's flunkies, and it was saying his theory on how Superman can fly and has the ability to continuously push himself flying faster and faster isn't that he's pushing against gravity to fly, and this is all obviously very comic book science. Pushing against gravity, he's actually being pulled rather than pushed, which is why he has the ability to continually gain speed rather than having to push against the force. He's being pulled by a force, and that's something that stuck with me for such a long time, that I look at how they interpret these Kryptonians and how they move in the movies to see whether that sort of comes into the aspect of how they do the CG or do the special effects, how they move. It's just something that stuck with me for years and years once I read that. And it was literally said, and then the story moved on. It was one little speech bubble in one comic that I've read hundreds of over the years.
And it just
stuck with me because I thought it was such an interesting concept. And I kind of see it in Cavill's Superman, especially when he first gets his flight ability. Yeah, exactly. And and it sort of agitates the ground around him, and you can see that there's some other force at work. Where the gravel kind of lifts when he puts his fist down. I just thought that was really interesting, that it raises up the same way that they were thinking that like something was pulling him along rather than pushing him up.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think that's really interesting. I mean, look, what was the Superman Returns versus Cavill's Superman in Man of Steel? They were stylistic choices from a visual effects perspective, whereas the way that Christopher Reeve would have, the way that he flew would have been more around the limitations of technology in the era that they were shooting at. So that would have been those would have all been crane shots, and a crane can only accelerate so fast, particularly when you've got a human dangling from a wire at the bottom of it.
On a like a green screen box, and he was just lying on it with his arms out.
Well, it wasn't until Superman 1 and 2, the Kryptonians only do a certain amount of low-level wire work. It wasn't until Superman 3 that basically every time you saw Superman take off or land, you actually saw a good bit of sort of crane wire work where he would maybe be lifted 10, 15 meters in the air. That wasn't until Superman 3.
So how did they do it for 1 and 2?
Oh, I think they still did a little bit of that, but it was only very, very limited. And it was kind of, I think some of it was even just clever, quick cuts where he would step down from a slightly higher ledge.
Yeah, right. We need to do a spotlight on visual effects. I think that's and how it's evolved in the movies.
That might be
we love
another
as a spotlight. Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Anyway, The Flash, not Superman.
Sorry. I'm trying to move through it quickly and I fail. Yeah. Renfield. Has anyone seen Renfield?
No, but I really want to see it.
I haven't seen it yet.
What's it on, Peter?
I don't remember. I probably paid for it,
fuck.
to be honest, because I didn't want to wait. No, I did pay for it. It was on Apple TV for purchase. I'm going to not talk about it, actually.
Okay.
I'll wait until you guys have seen it. We'll talk
I'm
about
very,
it properly.
very keen to watch that. Yeah.
Cool.
Good Omens.
Can
Sorry?
I just flick back? Zachary Levi did not write Shazam or Shazam 2. He only starred in. It was written by Henry Grayson, Chris Morgan, and produced by Peter Safran. So there we go. So he was just an actor.
Yeah, okay.
Renfield's available on most streaming services for about $20 for those playing at home.
Okay.
If you want to watch it.
Yeah, cool. Good Omens season 2.
Ah!
I've been waiting for years for this. It was brilliant. You've seen it too, Tom, obviously. Dan,
we smashed it out in 2 nights.
yeah,
Three episodes a night. Yeah.
I assume you haven't seen it, Dan?
No, I didn't even make it through the first season, honestly. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I liked all the actors and everything like that, but there was just something about it that didn't draw me in. I've read the book too. So it was definitely something up my alley, but there's just something about it. I will go back and watch it, I think, but I just don't have the platform that it's on at the moment. So.
Yeah, fair enough. Is
Technically,
there
you do? Some very nice person has shared that with you.
is there 2 books or is there 1 book?
No, it's just one big thick one.
So I wonder if they covered. I wonder if they've invented the storyline for season 2 for the season, or did they split the novel into 2 chunks and make season 1 the first chunk and season 2 the second chunk? And only somebody who's watched the show and read the book would know that, and we have neither on the show on our podcast.
I haven't read the book for, God, probably 20 years either, so I probably couldn't even answer that if I'd seen the show.
The subtitle of the book is The Nice and Accurate Prophecies of Agnes Nutter, which tells me that season 1 aligns to the book. Season 2 has nothing to do with that. So,
I just looked it up, the plot of the book, and it finishes where season 1 finishes.
yeah, right.
Interesting.
Okay. So they've extended the
But
storyline.
Neil Gaiman was directly involved with writing
Okay,
the show.
so it's legit.
Yeah, so he's one of, in the credits, he's one of 2. It's developed for TV by Neil Gaiman.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
that's
But
cool.
at least he's still involved in the writing of the story, and you can definitely see that through. Like it feels a very natural flow on from season 1.
Yes, it does. If anything, there was a little bit too much overlap in. It's like they went back and revisited the meeting of Crowley and Aziraphale.
Yeah.
They'd already covered that in the first TV series. They didn't really need to go back and recover it in the second.
I didn't mind it.
I found it a little confusing. The actual interaction in both was great, but we already saw them meeting for the very first time in the Garden of Good and Evil, or in the Garden of Eden at the start of the first series, and to then find Crowley as an angel painting the universe just after the Big Bang, or just before the Big Bang.
He turned on the Big Bang.
Yes, and then Aziraphale rocking up and saying, "Hey, who are you? What are you doing here?" It's like, did we forget something? Because you can't meet for the first time twice. That's not how this works. So I found
the second time he met him as a demon.
He introduced himself a bit like they'd never met before. Martin Sheen had no idea Aziraphale had no idea who Crowley was in the first season.
I took that as it was meant to be that it's him meeting him as demon, and But I mean, I guess he does talk about it.
I think there's a continuity issue.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's always something, but yeah.
But I thought it was great. The second series was great.
Do you think the second season would stand up on its own if you haven't seen the first one?
Yes.
It's pretty self-contained.
Yep.
Like the first season is very all about the apocalypse, and this is all just very self-contained. It really doesn't leave the street that the bookshop's on, except for a couple of little scenes. Yeah.
Be interesting to watch season 2 then skip season 1.
I do.
Different point of view.
And I do love the Gaiman Pratchett. I like satire on heaven and hell. Like there's just something really Pratchett about it. There's no other way to put it. It is just his sense of sarcasm and satire.
Yeah.
All like through and through. Yeah, no,
Tennant. I found Tennant was actually I found the weaker of him and Sheen. He was the weaker one. He just seemed to fall back into some of his other character actors in the way he acted. I got a lot of him going back to his Harry Potter character and when he was being a snarly little evil dude, and then
there was definitely some Doctor in it.
Yeah, there was definitely some Doctor in there as well.
But I actually think that's him. So if you outside of he's almost his characters wrap around his personality or his acting personality because he doesn't act like that in interviews. And it's so incongruent when you see him in an interview with his thick fucking Glaswegian accent.
Which we got in that episode, which was brilliant. Yeah, he gets to go native at one point, and he does the full Scottish. It was
and it's fucking thick.
Yeah,
and specific too. But yeah, I think you're right. But I actually just think that's his acting style because he has been like that in lots.
No, and that's what I mean. It's just it was like I felt Sheen was his character was so unique to just being Aziraphale, and then Crowley.
I don't think I've actually seen him in anything, to be honest, other than this.
Sheen's been in a bunch of stuff. He's more staged than anything. But I've seen a bunch of like stuff of him online.
Right.
Martin Sheen. Yeah, he's the main bad guy in the original Underworld. He plays Zeus in Tron Legacy.
God, I need to go back and watch that.
He always plays a lot of characters like that. I haven't ever seen anything where he's been the main actor, but I've seen a lot of stuff where he's a supporting actor.
He certainly has the gravitas
fantastic
for it.
Yeah.
And those two do interact in the dynamic between them. You can tell they're real life mates.
Like they're best friends in real life. Yeah.
I loved that series they did during COVID lockdown.
Oh yeah,
it was just the piss take of taking the piss out of each other and of themselves, and then meta taking the piss out of the show they were making. Anyway.
The other standout for me was definitely John Hamm. That dude was just having the fucking time of his life filming that. He was just having fun.
He plays the buffoon so perfectly in that show.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but you get that kind of thing from him that he just seems like he's a fun guy. Like
yes.
He's going to be over the top for the sake.
Well, he's also so different
laugh.
from because he plays Gabriel, and like you see him in season 1, and he's very down to the wire angel.
He's an arsehole.
Yeah, he's the boss. He's the dick
arsehole.
Boss. Yeah. And then to come out in this, and he's a goofy, lovable kind of. There's the whole thing with him lost his memory and kind of stuff, and it's just like, oh shit, you're just fun, dude. Like, yeah. Yes, it's not any sort of spoiler, but when he walks out in that after the ball scene, and he walks out in the fluffy white coat, and he's got a sequin suit on underneath, and you're just like, that man is having the absolute time of his life, and he's getting paid to do it. Like,
He strutted.
Fuck, he looks good though. Like, I was like, that's what the Angel Gabriel should look like in modern day. Just Liberace, eat your fucking heart out.
Yeah. And the story climax, the storyline, the emotional climax of the whole series hit really well.
Yeah. Which I don't think would have hit as hard.
If it had been the other way around?
No, from an acting perspective, if they hadn't been such good friends, because you could tell they actually put their friendship into the storyline between them.
Yeah. And I also don't think it would have worked the other way around either.
No.
Yeah. So I that really got me, to be honest.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It was very good. Really recommend it. And actually, I think you really could skip season 1.
Yeah.
Also, excellent use of Queen as standard.
Yeah.
Including the instrumental Bohemian Rhapsody here in the coffee shop. That was I'm gonna hunt that down because that was fucking dope. Yeah.
All right, Witcher season 3 without spending an hour on it.
Go, Peter, go.
It started here, which is kind of in the middle, and just went down and never recovered. The first episode is the best episode.
I still like episode 5. I really like that episode. It just hit me in a certain way. The ball.
I think
I get where you're coming from with the next episode. Kind of ruins it, but
that really got under my skin. It really,
I get why. But I just found that was a fun episode to watch for me. And was my one was yes, I agree. One was very very good. But I'd say episode 5 was a close second.
Was it 5?
5 is the one before the break.
It's the Thanad Ball.
Yeah, okay. Then how many episodes were there? 8?
8.
Yeah.
The
okay.
biggest thing that Emma and I said was that the last 3 episodes were not worth the month wait. I don't know why they didn't. Yeah,
Fuck
there was no need for that. That was just silly. That was just silly.
I like the first half of the episode where Ciri's wandering through the desert. It was cool. She was battling her own demons. You don't know if she's really experiencing these things or if she's hallucinating from dehydration.
Yeah.
I thought that was decently done. The second half really doesn't pay it off, though. As I said to you guys at the time, the whole the ball was cool in a storytelling, like a departure from the standard storytelling style for the Witcher series, but it was also, it's not the first time we've seen it done. I mean, fucking Hot Fuzz does a better job. And it doesn't, and it's too conceited. There are parts where you are literally having the same conversation a second time, but they add the start bit of the conversation on as a second layer. That's not a second layer. That's just you truncated the conversation halfway through to expose it sloppily in 2 pieces. And then the very next episode, the whole ball thing becomes fucking irrelevant. It's like we just completely forgot what happened because everything that happened in the ball meant nothing to the outcome.
No,
so
that's
that
why
really
I agree with
bugs
this.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that is bugging. But
There were a total of 3 monsters in the whole fucking series? This series was not about The Witcher. This was not about Geralt of Rivia. This was not about monster hunting.
I can hear Dan imploding internally when he says, it's not about fucking Geralt, it's about fucking Ciri. And he's staying very silent for a reason.
But what made the first series great was not present for me in season 3. And that was Geralt driving the story forward. And yeah, you can, I'm not going to disagree at all that it's functionally it's about Ciri, but Geralt was driving that first season. And he wasn't driving it here. He was almost a background character in a not good way.
I'm gonna jump in here. I thought it was trash. I thought the whole lot of it was rubbish. I had varying opinions. I thought parts of the first episode were good. I really liked the time that Geralt and Ciri spent together on their own. I thought Freya Allen, I think is the name, and Henry Cavill have fantastic on-screen chemistry as father-daughter. It's great. Geralt doing the little smile once Ciri says, we can get on this ferry and hunt this monster, and spouts everything she learned at Kenmore and back at him.
Yeah, that sense of pride.
But you don't get that she spent enough time at Kenmore in season 2 to have learnt all of that information. That's where that broke me. Like that in the books, that's set over years. And before recording this, I'm like, I'm not going to get on here and start comparing this to the fucking books because
they have done that all the way through.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't want to do it because I don't want to be this gatekeeper to people who enjoyed it and thought it was they just watched it for what it is and haven't read the books and haven't played the games. I don't want to be that asshole gatekeeper that goes, no, fuck you, you're wrong because it's not like the books.
But we literally had an executive producer a couple of weeks ago on Twitter bragging to their fans about, hey, you know how you always say that we don't honor the original book content? Well, this was the whole scene with Dijkstra catching Cavill or catching Geralt pissing in the flower pot was a direct word for word lift from the book, except he misspelt Dijkstra's name and it wasn't a direct lift.
Okay,
so they're the ones doing that, Dan.
Yeah, so I understand that, but I don't need to be adding
reinforcing that message. I get
into this. So this season they did pull a lot of stuff from the books. They actually pulled all the way up to the actual Thanad Ball. Almost everything that was in leading to that point was in the first 200 pages of Blood of Elves, which is the first full novel. The first 200 pages of the first book is the first 4 episodes of season 3. It's like, why? And like season 1 was the short stories all cut together to introduce the characters and get there. Cool. Yeah, loved it. Great. We don't need to go back on that. Season 2 then took a complete departure from where
They had to water it down for the idiot Americans.
But they didn't even do that. They wrote their own content there, and then they kind of felt like they needed to backflip on season 3 because they've gone, oh, well, there's all this stuff that we need to put in that we haven't said after wasting everybody's time for 8 to 10 episodes in season 2. So they just crammed the first 200 pages of Blood of Elves into 4 episodes.
Only
and then,
they
hold on a sec. And
Sorry.
then jump straight to the end of Time of Contempt, which is the second book, and the Thaned Ball, and missed a whole bunch of stuff and context that's there. So I can see where they've gone, oh yeah, but this is the season that stays closest to the books. And it's like, well, yeah, it does, but you're just cramming it in there because you misstepped and forgot to tell the story when you were meant to tell the fucking story.
So they've done a Star Wars
instead.
sequel trilogy. They've got the first movie, which is accurate, and then Rian Johnson comes in and fucks the story of the trilogy, and then they have to go jump back in the third and go,
That's it.
let's fix this.
That is exactly what they've done. They've had to reinforce Yennefer's position when they had her break Kahir out from the execution, which never happened and made no sense whatsoever. They've made Kahir, who is an amazing character who develops so much in the books, into a sniveling little fuckhead that doesn't actually know what he's doing or where his loyalties lie.
Yeah.
And he has this huge development in the books. And it was just a massive misstep. And my last comment on this before I need to go and pee and you guys can finish this off and go on to Secret Invasion is that horrible, horrible bard group should have fucking died as monster chum on that fucking barge.
Totally agree.
And the Yaskia / Dandelion looks like a sweaty, STI riddled. Just imagine, you look at him and imagine what he smells like in that fucking leather coat all the time, and he just looks like greasy and horrible.
Yaskia,
yeah. And
they didn't do his character very nicely in the third season.
No,
his character design was a bit off. Yeah,
and he was also irrelevant.
Yeah. When he's meant to be from their story that they wrote in Blood Origins or whatever it was called, was meant to be the one that told the story of everybody through, and he just.
If only they had invested that one shot in bridging the gap between seasons 1 and 3, and filling in some of the context they'd missed in season 2, instead of going back in time and telling a story that no one fucking wanted and didn't make sense and completely broke from the actual story. They could have invested that time in a one shot to give us some more context and background.
To give him credit where credit's due, the choreography in the fight scenes is
the
choreography in the sword fight scenes is excellent. Cavill's intro where he takes out those mercenaries in the first episodes of season 3, and then I actually really thought the fight with the rats breaking out Ciri was actually breaking out their friend, and Ciri's breakout was a byproduct of that. I thought that was actually really well choreographed as well.
Let's be honest. The entire highlight of the season for me was Palpatine showing up and lightning handsing everyone. Just some unlimited power, just from on high. Just fucking go for it.
It just didn't feel magical the way that season 1 did. I was excited, and all the way through season 1, I just had that sense of wonderment that I was really looking for. Season 2 was like, I get a dragon story. That's pretty cool. And the dwarves were kind of entertaining in their own way. They were slapstick funny.
That was season 1.
Was that season 1? Was it?
Season 2 was Baba Yaga. It was the Baba Yaga.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So I enjoyed season 1, and then season 2 that was the end of it, really, for me.
That is the curse of the Baba Yaga.
Go pee.
Okay.
While we talk about the steaming pile of shit that is Secret Invasion.
Yeah, look. Dropped the fucking ball there, didn't they?
So what did you think? Because obviously I've just declared my fucking intent to how I'm going to...
Yes, but what do you enjoy these days? You're so grumpy when you're sick.
You're right. I'm a cynical motherfucker.
You are, but we love you anyway. Look, the first 2 episodes, I thought it was going to go a different way than it did.
Hoping.
Yeah, really thought it was going to go down the Winter Soldier, Spycraft, Nick Fury back, actually doing spy stuff.
That's what they needed to do.
It's really what they needed to do. And it was actually, I think they really did Samuel L. Jackson, they slapped him in the face with the story they gave his character that he played.
It's kind of piss weak. And
it was, and the focus, the continual focus on the you're an old man who's irrelevant kind of thing. Like it just got a bit. When it was every episode, it was like, we got it.
We got it. Yeah, exactly. I don't even know what you're trying to drive home now. It's just over the top.
Yeah, and it's just the scroll, like the comic Secret Invasion is like, it was a really, really well written series.
I haven't read the series.
Well, it did. The whole plot line was, who do you trust? And it's like they replaced some very significant characters with Skrulls and said, like they kind of did with Rhodey, that they'd been Skrulls for years. The problem is when you've got this big shared universe that MCU has, and now you're splitting it across TV and movies, is that if you let a TV show be a little bit like
too much
or a bit flippant with what's going on, it completely negated all the stuff of Rhodey in the end of Endgame, like because it wasn't him. Like they're saying that he got replaced after Civil War. That's when the Skrull took over him. Spoiler, sorry if anyone hasn't watched it, but don't bother. And then the irresponsibility they created when they created the Super Skrull is a plot line throughout the creation of the Super Skrull. Traditionally in the comic, the Super Skrull was created by the Skrulls to fight the Fantastic Four. So he had all four. Kl'rt is his name, Klrt. He has all four powers of the Fantastic Four.
Right.
They kind of went down this, but then they went, why don't we give him every single...
It was just so over the top.
Every single Avenger power possible.
It wasn't just the Avengers. It was also all of the opponents of the
anyone
Avengers.
Who fought in the Battle of Endgame.
Yes.
He got access to their DNA. And now they've got this character they've created, which is so supremely overpowered, it's actually irresponsible for any storytelling going forward. Because you've got your... What do you call it? Your you love to use the term all the time. Your magical MacGuffin. Yeah, there we go. You got your MacGuffin now in Gaia. So the only way you can. Then my only thought was like when they started having. Well, this is the other problem. Episode 6 of it just goes from this story. It's meant to be spycrafty, which kind of lost its way halfway through, and then it's just like.
I think the first episode was the only one that was a fucking spycraft.
I think the first 2 worked for me for like at the end of 2, just kind of like I don't think this is going to be as spycrafty as I hoped it was going to be. So say the first third of it is spycrafty, but then the last episode is just here's your CGI superhero brawl that did not need to be in it, and it was just a bit of laziness on their part going back to the standard like, we've got to finish this with people punching each other. It's like. Yeah, or you could have like told a great little spy story the whole way through. But yeah, they've really tripped up on it, and now they've irresponsibly created this fucking
Super Skrull.
Supreme. No, not Super Skrull, like super Skrull, like
the God Skrull.
Essentially, they've created a god tier character.
And they have created a god tier character.
Yeah.
She has the powers of Miss Marvel's powers alone. Miss Marvel's powers. Captain Marvel.
Yeah,
her powers alone are OP, and it's recognized in Endgame that they're OP, which is why they've kind of sent her across the universe and away from all the stories we're getting.
Yeah,
and so to have her powers mixed with basically unlimited lives,
every character, and the extremis regeneration. So essentially, she can regenerate like Wolverine.
Yeah,
like. You do get shot in the face, and he just it's back. Whatever.
You've got Groot's fucking tree powers, like his vine powers. You've got Abomination's powers. Like it was just over the top. And watching the two battle were just like I literally opened my phone and started fucking scanning through Reddit. It was the final climactic fight scene that should have been the payoff for watching the whole series. I was doom scrolling because it was boring.
Yeah, it wasn't exciting or anything. It was just it, and the only way they can fix it really now to go forward is to write in some bullshit kind of line.
Yeah, Loki just evaporated him into another universe and then collapsed the universe on him. Whatever.
Or she has to burn. She burns out the powers somehow. Like it's not a lasting effect. But it's or she uses too much of it and then implodes.
Or we go down the fucking X-Men 2 route or X-Men 1, the Senator that gets
jellyfished.
Yeah. Just her body could not contain the powers that was invested in her. So no, it was Secret Invasion was a tragic piece of shit. They should have.
And the comic is just so good. I really suggest reading it if you haven't. It's a really good.
I'll
really
buy
good
the
comic
omnibus
series.
or whatever it is. But
Yeah.
but like the Men in Black chase scene I thought was kind of cool at the start with Martin Freeman and chasing, and you're not sure what the climax of that chase is going to be, which I thought was cool. It did very much remind me of Will Smith chasing a fucking alien.
Yeah.
And that first episode could have been the launch point, and it kind of had those feels of Soviet Germany crossing the border. That's the kind of spy film.
You wanted a bit of a Cold War film. Yeah,
that's what I wanted, and it just failed to deliver.
100% went the opposite way. It was just a lot of people saying, "Hey, Nick Fury, you're old." It's like, yeah, we know he's old. Stop saying it.
Yeah, ageist fuck. Shall we move on to? So I just wanted a couple of quick comments. Shall we move on?
Yep.
Tom? Yep.
Yeah.
So Silo, I think I covered it essentially before the series ended.
Yeah, I do want to watch this one. Yeah.
I just wanted to say that the series finale, the season finale was excellent. It delivered.
Mm-hmm.
There was a good twist link into season 2 or opening for season 2 that I thought was intelligently written and I didn't see coming. So that's a series that had, I think, 3 or 4 plot twists that I didn't predict, which is very impressive for me. Usually because you just pick the biggest actor that doesn't have a main part and you know that's going to be the big bad. And then I watched American Born Chinese, and that was exactly what you said it was, Tom. It was just a fun romp through monkey magic, fucking nostalgic vibes. Yeah. And it was well written, it was well executed.
A good way to tell the modern aspect to the Journey to the West story, which hasn't really been done in a while.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I thought I liked the way that it reasonably elegantly handled the kind of innate racism with the what can go wrong kind of subplot there, which I thought was kind of a little meta because obviously Ki Hoi Kwan, I don't know how to pronounce his name. That makes me feel a little sad. But do you know how to pronounce it, Dan? So you've talked about him a lot. No? So the actor that played Short Round from Indie, he basically plays a dumb Chinese character in a bad sitcom in the background of the main story. And I thought it was a nice comment on what he'd personally gone through as an actor after Data and in the Goonies and Short Round. So I thought that was kind of fourth wall breaking in a way, like it was quite meta and nicely handled. The thing I didn't like was I really struggled to Google which dialect they were speaking. Now, I had assumed it was Cantonese, and I'm almost certain it is Cantonese.
Right.
But Chinese is not a language, and they keep referring to, he speaks Chinese. And it's like the insensitive Americans or the ill-educated American asking the question, fine, makes sense to say that he's speaking Chinese. But if I can't Google whether or not they're speaking Mandarin or Cantonese, then that's a problem. It should have been fucking front and center. Anyway.
Just have to find someone who speaks Mandarin and Cantonese.
Yeah, I was going to say, to find somebody that speaks either of those and ask them.
Yeah. But you think something that's handling innate racism, it should have been pretty obvious, but no. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Silo was great. American Born Chinese was fun. The end. And I think you wanted to talk about True Detective?
Yeah, well, I'm just going to cover 3 seasons of True Detective that are very, very old because season 3 came out in like 2014 or something.
Yeah, but I still haven't watched it.
Oh, season 1 is great. So
season 1 is fantastic.
And they're self-contained stories. Each season 1, season 2, season 3, all self-contained. I started watching season 3 thinking it felt very much closer to season 1 than season 2. So season 1 has Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey as the titular detectives, and they're running through an almost cosmic horror-esque crime scene, like a cult murder happens in episode 1
in the swamps of Louisiana.
Exactly, and it just really leans into that side of it, which is fantastic. And I won't cover that. The dialogue's excellent. The characters are amazing and human and faltered to like almost too far. But they have their faults, they have their problems, but they also have their aspects that bring them back up and make them good people overall, even despite their faults. So I think it's a fantastic writing on the character side and how they all interact. It's there's so much dialogue that happens between Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey, and I don't like Matthew McConaughey as a person. I've heard him talk a couple of times, and I think he's a bit of a douchebag.
All right.
But I think that as an actor, you can't fault him, especially when he gets thrown into this. And it covers two separate timelines, so it's really
how do the dumb Americans handle that?
Yeah, it's really
he's their golden boy, so they just sit there going, "Oh."
It's really a story being told after the fact, many years after the fact. So McConaughey and Harrelson are being interviewed by two cops looking at the investigation they did about 10 years ago. And it's told basically in flashbacks, and then it comes back to the interview room where these two characters have gone on with their lives and changed over time. And you can really see that juxtaposition and of how especially Matthew McConaughey's character has lost what he was in the when he was originally
got
part
off
of
the
police
rails
force.
slightly.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's fantastic telling the story. Season 2 is Colin Farrell, Vince Vaughn, Rachel McAdams, and
It's fucking all-star.
dude, the guy that played fucking Gambit, Taylor Kitsch. They're the main four characters in the season 2. And it's completely different. It's a
which I found quite jarring.
Yeah, it's a gangster land grab story in California that has other aspects to it, but that's basically what they're talking about for the whole thing. And it was really good in its own aspect. I don't think it reached the interest level of what season 1 did.
No,
but I think it was really good as a police story on its own. All those actors were great. Rachel McAdams is fantastic. It's so much of a departure from a character that you ever see her play, and she needs to. I know she's sort of not being in too much these days, but she should have like really lent into that hard ass cop that she was, because that could have really gone somewhere for her, I think. But it's a real shame that they missed that. They missed that beat with her.
She could have been the next Dana Scully.
Yeah, she was a lot more physical, tough than what Dana Scully was.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Dana was obviously more on the psychology side of things.
She was also very assertive, though. I could see could see Rachel McAdams playing a very assertive cop detective,
and she was, definitely. Colin Farrell was great as a broken man. Vince Vaughn as the gangster, I didn't believe he didn't do it for me to start with, but he's actually the one who made me.
He's actually the one who stopped us continue watching it when it first came out. I couldn't handle him as that.
Yeah, and I completely can see that. I really can. He was very unconvincing as that character to me, but he did some things later on in the series that I've gone, yeah, okay, you know what? You are doing these things for not the right reasons, but your reasons.
Yeah.
I think so. I think that was really good. Taylor Kitsch was really good. I think he's another actor that's been sort of overlooked in some of the roles that he's been.
I agree. Definitely
been cast with. And then season 3 makes a real return to what season 1 was. It's Stephen Dorff and what's his name, Tom?
Mahershala Ali.
Thank you. I was going to absolutely butcher that name.
Mahershala Ali. I think
There
you
you
might have
go.
added an extra vowel in there.
I did that from memory, so
Fair enough. Fair call. I
didn't
was
have that
looking at it.
written.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was looking at it in IMDb, so I'll take that.
So they're the main detectives in the third season, and it's very much back to season 1.
Is it set back in time?
Yeah, so this one actually covers 3 time periods. The original time period of the case, which was like 1980.
Yep.
The second time period where they reopen the case together, which is 1990. And then the third time when, what's his name again? How do you pronounce it?
Mahershala Ali. Did I get that right?
Mahershala.
Mahershala Ali is being interviewed for a TV story about the case in like 2015 or something like that, 2014. So this one actually covers 3 time periods. They do a fantastic job of jumping between them all. Stephen Dorff, man, he's fucking great. Like he's
in another thing that we're going to talk about later on too.
His fucking redneck character, his redneck detective that in this one is just it suits him so much that it might actually be his like normal personality. I feel. But it just goes really well. The makeup's really great for the aged characters as well. They do a really fantastic job. But it leans into 2 missing children. And you get through the season. We've got 1 left. And you have this not quite supernatural aspect to it, but there is some occult stuff happening in there that is quite interesting. And both Mahershala Ali and Stephen Dorff are they're Vietnam vets, and it leans very much into their time in Vietnam and how their roles that they played. I don't want to spoil what they were in the war, but that plays into their character, and then obviously plays into their relationships with not only each other but other characters within the show. And it's very dialogue heavy, but the dialogue is on point, and the characters are on point, and the actors are on point the whole time. I don't think I've seen any one of them misstep. Even the supporting actors that come in for 10 minutes or have small parts in each episode, like the interviewer, she's fantastic and really convincing in the very small parts that she has, driving the new knowledge of the case forward. And it's just really brilliantly written TV, and something that we don't see too much of. And why we went back and watched it was we really felt like watching something after watching that Kingdoms of Heaven, the Mormon one with Andrew Garfield, because that really smacks of True Detective as well. So it's just they're all in the sort of a similar vein. So great. If you haven't watched them, 3 seasons, 8 episodes each, can't go wrong. Brilliant TV.
Yeah, that's
brilliant writing, brilliant TV.
I'm definitely going to watch them. Just looking at the All-Star cast lineup.
Pete, you'll watch season 1 and you will chew it up.
Yeah. Cool.
Oh yeah, season 1's right up your alley, Pete. You're gonna fucking love it. It was so well done. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did need to go and just blank mind state of just go back into season 2 and be like, no, it's not 1. It's you got to have to kind of have that thing of like, this is not season 1. It is its own
different story.
Yeah. Which I think was the problem going into it, because when it originally came out, it was kind of like pushed as like the successor to season 1 kind of thing. Like, yeah, they didn't tell you straight up that's like it's going to be very different. So
it was. Yeah.
Cool.
That's that.
I think we'll
break and get some fresh beers.
Yes, let's do that. We'll be right back.
Hey. Hey.
Yes. It looks confused. We're back. We're back. We're back.
We are.
We're back.
I was just reading a can, but the printing made it difficult. The color scheme made it difficult.
What do you
the
got?
Old eye test.
I haven't tried it yet.
What do you got?
Oh, look at that! Look at that head. It's very foamy. Actually. This is Yulli's Brews Kuro Black Rice Lager.
Yeah.
It is unusual. I don't know how else to describe it, to be honest. It's thin the way that a rice lager should be. You definitely get the malt, but not not as heavily as I would have expected for something that's that dark. It's really not horrendously malty. It has a really unusual smell and flavor to it, and I couldn't tell you what it is. Particularly being sick at the moment, it's almost like it's got a sweet finish, but I don't know. It's really fucking with my head. I mean, Dan, I'm sure you've probably had 20 of these and can describe it from memory.
No, this is their brand new beer. They only released it a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I haven't had the black one. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the cousin to their rice lager. This is the sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they've used Raquel hops, and for malt they've used pale rice and Carafa 3.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a collab with Audio Technica, which I find interesting.
Well, the original is the Karaoke Kingu, which is also a collab with Audio Technica.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so the thing that attracted me to it is I'm I'm at the very start of learning Japanese, and so I've picked up quite a few Japanese inspired or Japanese styles of beer. They're all made by Australian breweries, but yeah. So anyway, I mean I don't really know what to make of it, to be honest with you. It's not bad. I'm enjoying it. It's a very unusual flavor profile because it's kind of malty. It has that rice thinness to it. You certainly get the notes that you'd expect out of a lager, like a yeast, like a lager yeast. But at the same time, it's got this sweet finish to it and a flavor I can't quite put a word to.
Umami.
No, it's not meaty. No, it's definitely a sweetness to it. Anyway, it'll be because of my taste buds aren't on point tonight because of the cold. But I'm still going to give it a 4. That's where I land on that. Kuro. It's very interesting learning Japanese, where you find out that you're actually learning Chinese characters because they inherited a lot of their language or their written language from their invaders, the Chinese. So, yeah, really interesting. Kind of history is baked into their language and their culture in a really interesting way. Moving on.
Thomas, what are you drinking?
Fucking yell at me, you dog. Sorry, what? I am having brackets Red Kerplonk, which is a collaboration with Plonk, the bottle shop in Canberra. It is just a fucking real good red IPA. Chewy, toffee, malty, caramelly goodness. It's got a nice little hop hit to it. I was just trying to see what hops they use, and I can't see it, but that's all right. I'm sure someone can find that out. It's on the front of the can, Tom. You dumb fuck.
As it usually is with bracket beers.
Yeah. Probably should have remembered that. They've used Chinook, Idaho 7, and Waimea.
Waimea, yeah, it's a New Zealand hop. Yeah,
there you go. Never seen that one before. That's it. That's cool. It's got a really, really pleasant hoppiness coming through that really nice malty backbone. It's very, very good. It's 6.5% as well. Good old Plonk. Great bottle shop if you're in Canberra. Definitely worth checking out. It's a great. I really, skies are grey. It's a little bit of rain around, and it's the temperature's going down. It's perfect red IPA time. So that's a 4.5. That is cracking. Very good.
Do you find there's anything wrong with the color of the beer?
No.
I'm just reading an Untapped review, and their opening statement was, "The color of this beer is just awful, but it tastes a lot better than it looks." Like, really? Is it?
Well,
baby poo brown?
It looks brownish on the camera, but
it's fine.
Things are distorted.
It's slightly cloudy. That's the only thing.
Yeah. So it's kind of
don't listen to that untapped dumb fuck. He's an idiot.
Anyway,
I've got Moondog and Canolera. Can anybody pronounce that for me?
Canolera.
Yeah, that'll do.
My pronunciation in English is horrible, as all the listeners can have told over the last 5 years or whatever it's been. The almighty cannoli. It's a cannoli pastry sour ale, and I knew when I bought this I was going to regret. Obviously, lactose intolerant. I knew I was going to regret it once I knew buying it that I was going to regret it. It's a Saturday night. If I get the shits later, I'm at home. It doesn't matter. There's a major football game on this evening, so I'm going to sit there and watch that, and I have to watch it in pain because of the game or because of how I'm feeling after drinking this. They're going to be one and the same.
Yep.
So I didn't actually read the back of the can when I got it, and I didn't actually read the back of the can until after I drank it, which I'm much
Contains
more regretting it now after reading it. We put 1,500 kilos of whey into it. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. No worries. We'll see how this sits.
You are going to regret this later.
Yes, it's 7.5% ABV. I'm already dealing with a little bit of a hangover as it is, so this is really going to kick the ass out of the back end of that. It's really nice. It smells like custard.
Really? Oh, I thought it was going to be fucking gross. I've seen that can so many times. I was like, Moondog, you fuck, what have you done?
Well, it just smells like custard. It smells like it's super, super sweet custard.
Tubby custard.
Yeah, and then the obviously they've used like Maris Otter or an ale malt of some sort as a base malt to give it a really big backbone, malty backbone into it, and it does give that liquid cannoli. It smells like custard. It's not overly sour, but the sourness definitely helps cut through how much sweetness and extra things there are in there. Because if there wasn't, it would be just a sickly sweet product. So very clever using the sour as the base product of this.
Yeah.
And then the custard aroma, the vanilla custard aroma comes through. That sweetness hits you up front. The maltiness then rolls over your palate, and then the sourness cleans it out as it goes out the back end. We'll see. That one broke Tom. I didn't mean for it to come out like that. Oh, God, they just keep coming, don't they? That's what I'll be saying later.
Your milkshake will bring all the boys to the
It's nice. It is enormously sweet. Enormously sweet. But
it seems like more like an ice cream stout than anything else.
Yeah, it really delivers on what it actually says it is. It's got that real vanilla-y custardy character with that malt for the shell of the cannoli. So,
out of 5?
Out of 5, 3.75. I think it's a little out of balance, just with so much sweetness there. I think that sweetness could have been dialed back. I think the flavor profile is really good. I think that sweetness is just too high.
Yeah,
but I think the base product is really solid, but just a little bit out of balance on that side of it. But I mean, it's worth a try.
Cool. Sorry, Tom, I don't think I got your score out of 5. How many pixels out of 5 pints?
It's 4.5.
Thank you.
I think you don't listen to me.
It's quite possible.
Fair enough. I don't blame you.
Shall we move on to some trailer trash? I'm worried if we're going to let it. I'm worried that if we let the night go any further, Dan's going to just fade into blackness.
My light's gone out. Let me repair the lights while you talk about the trailers.
Just clap it, clap on, clap off.
Clap on, clap off. If only it was that easy. These days, just take a shiny blue pill.
Oh,
and I only know that because I was watching a TikTok commentary video. And there was this girl saying, have you ever noticed how pretty the chlamydia tablet looks? And she's showing it on camera, and I'm like, bro, like, how about, like, you are very comfortable with the internet. Like, that is not something you think people would want to share. Anyway, Loki, season 2 with Kei Hui Kwan. October 6. Looks good. Looks very good.
Yep, they brought everyone back.
Time slippage. Yeah, but I really enjoyed Loki season 1. I thought it was out there. It was different. It was a self-contained story, but still had scale to it.
And just some quality acting in there. Like, you know, hopefully it's the same well-written script they had for season 1. You know, it's one of the things I never thought I would, you know, not say I did take him that seriously, but Owen Wilson, I never thought I could take him in that kind of more serious role.
Dick knows.
Yeah. Wow. But hey, I was surprised. Yeah. Then I'm excited to see his character come back. I did see something today that was going on about how So in the trailer, you see Loki's time slipping, as they call it, but it's linked to the Into the Spider-Verse glitching, and so they think it might be something like that. It's it looks to be of the same quality. The only definitely the thing that I found the most interesting from that trailer, and I don't know if you picked up on this, Pete, was that Kang is still being played by Jonathan Majors, despite everything going on. So, which is a good thing, I think, until he is, proven otherwise. He's allowed to keep acting.
He's lucky because there's a lot of other people that have paid the price before being proven innocent and never recovered.
No, I know, but I think I think it's a good thing to, and while that's still going on, it's like they've already shot it, obviously, so they haven't gone back and changed it. But yeah, I mean, personally, I hope he's innocent of all charges because I really like him as an actor and everything I've seen him in. So
yeah,
but yeah, no, that was probably the most interesting thing out of that trailer for me, besides Kwei Hong Kwan coming through. Just like I did, because I showed it to Emma and we did comment. It's like, yeah, look, he's found his like kind of like new niche hole, and it's like time bending stories is now where he lives. Like, after everything, everywhere, all at once, and then now being pulled into this. But yeah, no, it looked good.
He was an American-born Chinese, wasn't he?
He was.
Yeah, of course he was. He was.
Just talked about
what could go wrong? Yeah.
But yeah, that's yeah. I think it's just it's good. And this will be the first time that they, for a while, have dumped an entire season in one hit. So if you are the binging type, you can sit there and smash through it. Maybe 6 to 8 episodes as per the formula. Yeah. Next. Dead Man's Hand. Have you guys seen the trailer for this? I just watched it before. Yeah.
This looks like full blown old school Western. I wrote so RDR because it's obviously doesn't have it's not a Red Dead Redemption storyline, but it certainly has those.
I thought I don't think it's old school Western. I think it's Western with this, because they said it's adapted from a graphic novel, and you definitely can see some of that coming through.
Yeah.
It's kind of feels a bit like shot in the style of Django Unchained or that kind of like where it's like
The Hateful Eight.
Yeah. The action is slightly modernized for what the I guess the technology provides. That shot of him running up the stairs after the card game, just double barreling. Like, I was like, yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
I've got it up running now because I hadn't seen it. The only thing this is nitpicky, but the costumes are too clean.
Yeah.
There's no dust. There's no, like, these people have been even just walking up the dusty road of their little dusty town there. Yeah, it's like they've all come straight out of the laundromat. And
no, that's a fair thing. Like, that
throws me a bit.
Yeah,
but other than that, it looks like one of these movies that I will sit down and definitely put a bottle of whiskey next to me and drink it.
Yeah. I made that mistake last night. Still paying for it. Trying to kill that sore throat. I
told you to have your hot toddy, didn't I?
I heard whiskey
Sans
helps,
milk.
so it didn't work for the first half bottle. I thought I'd get into the second half. The next trailer was The Marvels, which came out a while ago now, to be honest. But I don't
since
think
we last recorded a proper episode. It's
been fucking 6 weeks or something. So I'm looking forward to this movie.
Looks
it's
fun.
got a high percentage chance of being a flop, in my opinion. But what I'm seeing so far, I think this is the new trailer. To be honest, I think there's been 2 trailers now. This is the secondary.
I think there has been,
this one fleshes out what's her name?
Happening between them. Brie Larson and
Rambo.
Monica Rambeau. Yes,
thank you. Her character.
I was about to say Sylvester Stallone is not in this,
but we haven't covered where she got her powers from. She didn't have powers in the movie.
She gets powers in WandaVision when she breaks.
I was going to say, didn't she get them in WandaVision? Yeah.
Yep.
I don't remember the powers. I'll have to go back and watch. It's been a long time.
She gets the light powers. The eyes go over, and when she forces her hand through Wanda's barrier, and
I have some sketchy memory of that. But I mean, fuck, WandaVision's 18 months old now. It was the first.
It's not a legal defense, you know that, Pete.
it's old.
There's no sketchy memory.
No, thanks. I'm looking forward to the Marvels. I'm just going to move on from that, Dan. It looks good. And look, if
I'm going to
Kamala
preface
Harris,
this. My only complaint so far, actually, from those two trailers, is that, and I really enjoy Brie Larson as an actor, but for some reason, she's just in every shot in those trailers has a really like weird
dumb look on her face.
Yeah. Did you notice that too? Like,
Yeah, I did.
Really, really like out of
Just
character, kind
zoned out. Yeah.
Like I'm sure it might get explained in the plot, and I hope it does. Or maybe it's just something that they've like.
What happened to your face? Well,
the Botox is just kicked in, and I cannot
see them
move a
handling
single facial muscle. I don't know. It was like quite jarring actually to see it, because she's quite a talented actor and then turn around and just be like sitting there just, It's like, what?
Yeah.
How much weed did you smoke before you did this scene? Jesus.
Oh, they're probably, I mean, at least some of them have got to be on edibles while they're filming. I'm looking forward to it.
Treat yourself.
Next one, Mobland.
It's got Stephen Dorff in it as well, as the what was the one you just mentioned before? Dead Man's Hand.
Yep.
Both Stephen Dorff. Yeah.
I put Stephen Dorff's name in here after you mentioned him in season 3.
Yeah.
Of True Detective. Yeah. I haven't seen Travolta in anything for a while.
He's been in some really B list shit.
So he's doing a Nick Cage, is he?
He's just he's been filming some like, he's just like, I guess it's just getting the paycheck kind of thing. He's popped up in some things, like weird things I've seen on like new movies released to streaming service, and it's like John Travolta in this like weird thing. You're like, what are you doing, bro? You okay? Everything all right?
He's made his cash, man. He's doing shit that he wants to do. I mean, it's set in the middle of bumfuck America and got a nice accent on Travolta, and then I think the basic premise is some country boys inadvertently steal from the mob, and then the mob comes out to the country to fucking make them pay.
Right.
And Travolta plays the local sheriff, who's obviously very good at his job, and that's where that kind of starts. So deep in the heart of Dixie, there you go, a small town struggling with the ravages of addiction, a local sheriff tries to maintain the peace when desperate family man Shelby robs a pill mill with his reckless brother-in-law Trey. But the supposedly easy score takes
Dillion. Wow, I haven't seen him since. What was the last time I think I saw him in? I don't know. Man, he was everywhere in the 90s.
And then Stephen Dorff plays the mafia enforcer who comes back to nail him. So yeah, I just think it looks like a fun American kind of like middle American movie. So
yeah.
The next one, who put The Exorcist Believer in?
Not me.
Dan's muted, but that looks really fucking good. Like, I'm impressed.
That was me. Yeah, it popped up as a pre-video trailer for something I was watching on YouTube the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And always when the horror movie, I didn't know what it was until it got further on, and I'm like, that kind of looks like Exorcist makeup. And then it went further on. It was the mother from The Exorcist comes into the back end of the trailer, and I
and the demon calls her mother.
Yeah. Hello, mother.
Creepy as fuck.
Hugely creepy. So I mean, it's going to be a B-grade horror. Let's call it what it is. It's going to be
some A-grade horrors recently.
Yeah, but I mean, it's. I think it looks fun. Fun. Once again, Tom's going to pull me up on calling horror movies like this fun.
No,
I think you're right, though. In the same way that...
It 1 and Chapter 2 made me hysterically laugh. I was cry laughing through those.
But I think it's set to not take itself too seriously in kind of a less intense Army of Darkness way, but kind of similar. It's just, it's not...
It does give that modern Evil Dead vibes to it. I think it's going to be creepy as fuck. There is some flashes to some things that, like the original movie, some things that happened in the Middle East somewhere that have let these demons out again. And that there's, just some quick flashes in the trailer of that. It's 2 little girls this time that get possessed by whatever singular or multiple entities. And the mother from the original show comes back and she goes, "Yep, well, I know what this is. We need to bring on the exorcists from all the religions to get rid of these things."
I thought that was an interesting way to do it too. Kind of.
So they've super scrolled it.
They've super scrolled it, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
just
but
bring
they've-
everything in. Just throw the whole book at them. All the books.
Yeah.
All the
All the
books.
books. All the
All the
books.
books.
They've put all the demons into the Heradric Cube.
I mean, look, it might be interesting to see their take on exorcism rituals through other religions.
Because there was definitely some voodooism there that
Yeah,
you saw in
definitely.
the trailer, and there's definitely Catholicism that comes into it. So they'll bring probably some Muslim aspects into it as well. So it'd
I hope
be
so. That'd be
really
interesting to see.
It would be, yeah, definitely. So I don't know. It just looks like a good modern addition to that classic
Yes.
Exorcist movie.
Agree.
Mm.
Totally agree. Wonka. I mean, Wonka.
Have you guys seen this? Did you guys watch this?
Yes.
I've seen this, yes. I saw a very good take on this, actually, which I'll say at the end, yeah.
Timothy Chalamet looks like he is fucking phoning this in. He looks like he does not want to be there in any way, shape, or form and does not want to give any expression. I don't know if that's just him. I don't know whether I'm looking at through June fanboy eyes that I want him to be great in everything he's in, whether it's bad writing, bad directing, or whatever, or really he's just taking it as a paycheck. But he looked so unenthusiastic being into it compared to Gene Wilder and Johnny Depp's take on it. He just didn't feel like he fit it. He didn't feel like he wanted to be there, and it just feels like one of those 1997 or whatever it was, that Fantastic Four movie that just got shoved on the back shelf because they needed to make the lowest budget thing that they could to get it to keep the IP going.
I can't
Keep their
help
ownership
but think that it might be the director. So I'm looking at the director, who is Paul King. He directed Paddington 1 and 2 and Space Force.
Space Force is a very enjoyable show, though.
Space Force. Yeah, Space Force. It's a Stephen Carell.
Steve Carell, yeah. I understand what you're saying as well in terms of his acting in the trailers so far. I just don't understand why we needed the movie. I'm just going to
mute myself while you go and look up to see if it was an IP hold.
Yeah, okay. I also saw some stuff behind the scenes around Hugh Grant playing the Oompa Loompa, and some stuff on BBC TV about how there was a community of people saying that it was inappropriate for dwarves to play dwarf characters, and some controversy around that for a while. That was linked both to Snow White and the Seven Dwarves remake, where they're not using short people to portray the dwarves, and this one. So
what you meant to say was not dwarves playing dwarfish people.
Correct. That it was.
You said dwarves playing dwarvish people. There was controversy around that.
There was. So the movement was saying that it was inappropriate and I can't think of the word, but inappropriate for short people to play dwarves, like almost almost along racist kind of lines, but not racism.
They're a fucking fantasy race. It's a fantasy race. We're not insulting the actual proper little people of the world. It's just a fucking fantasy race.
I just found it was. I didn't want to get into the politics of it. I just found that it's amazing that we can politicize fucking everything these days. That it's inappropriate for short people to play a dwarf because it's a slight on their stature or something.
I mean, if someone who wants to play the role, let them play the role.
Well, I mean, you literally had a dwarf on the TV program on BBC saying, "Are you fucking joking? Do you know how many roles I don't get because I'm not tall? I can't play all the tall roles, and now you're telling me I can't play the short roles because somebody else is upset on my behalf." So,
moving away from this, because we'll get down a little rabbit hole.
Political, sorry.
But the thing I saw, which I found very entertaining, was someone's breakdown of the 3 Wonkas we've got in film now, and it was Timothy Chalamet's Wonka just being like, hey, let's make some chocolate. Fun. And then it's Johnny Depp's being like, my dad hates me and I'm now weird as a result. And then it's Gene Wilder's being like, I want to fuck kids. Fucking kid in this thing.
Yeah, like
no one leaves here. unharmed psychologically or physically.
He had
I'm
some
gonna shove
rapey vibes.
That fat kid, not rapey vibes, just
They
killing vibes.
totally
No,
were.
he just drowned the kid in chocolate. He's a fat little fuck. Drowned him in chocolate.
I agree
Right
with
now, full
Tom.
of
I
chocolate.
like Gene Wilder's Wonka. I think he's seriously disturbed, but in a serial
Very,
killer kind of way.
Yeah, it's not rapey vibes. It's serial killer vibes because there's no way to know which way it's flowing. If anyone can sing-song their way through terrifying a bunch of people, and then there's scorpions and spiders, that's still my favorite scene of all time. I think that's one of the greatest scenes in cinema history. The boat ride in the original Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
It's so good. Yes, I don't know why they needed to make it. I don't know if Dan's found the answer to that, but yeah, look, Tim Chalamet looks like a guy I want to punch in the face, so I don't care. I'm probably not going to see it. Yeah.
We'll move on.
I'm not going to say it either.
Last trailer.
Maybe that's what I use the edible for. That'd be good.
That definitely seems like a 420 film. The last trailer isn't really a trailer. I just thought it was really interesting. Star Wars Outlaws. So San Diego's Comic-Con released a 6-minute behind-the-scenes clip of Star Wars
And there were
Outlaws.
a couple of interviews as well, which brought some other things to light as well, which is
I
good to
thought it
hear.
was super interesting, and it was kind of linked. It reminded me of what you said earlier, Tom, about the behind-the-scenes kind of justifying the thought process that goes into some of the makeup of our stories that we're watching. So this very much talks about the planets that they're bringing into the storyline, how the flora and fauna and culture are influencing each other.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of the planet, but the planet that's perpetually windy. The culture actually adopts wind as a core part of their culture, and they use it for
Outlaws,
work.
or are you
and-
thinking Survivor?
Outlaws?
Who's Outlaws?
Yeah.
Do you want to wake up there, Dan, or you?
No, I thought it was bullshit fluff. Personally,
I like it when they think about their stuff. If it adds little touches,
no. I think the wind aspect was good. I think that's something clever to put into a culture of a windy planet. I'm talking about the behind the scenes trailer.
But
itself.
anything
was just
behind the
hyping.
scenesy.
It was just
like
bullshit fluff.
Pre-release is
Yeah.
always
It's all
this is what we put into it to make you buy it.
yeah,
it was just
building up
rubbish.
the hype. Yeah,
I thought the most interesting thing to come out of it was the talk around the size of the planets you get to visit, and the weird way, very specific way they talked about the size in that if you'd played, and I guess it makes sense because it's massive as part of Ubisoft. So they said if you'd played Assassin's Creed, it would be worth like 2 or 3 island zones. I'm assuming of like one of the main islands, but that's
Okay.
like the size of the discoverable area of the planets you get to visit.
right.
But then the way they talked about it was that there might be like half a dozen to a dozen planets that you'll get to visit over the course of the story, which is great. And then the main one they showed in that in the gameplay trailer is one they've created for the game.
That's the windy one.
Mhm.
That's a new developed planet for it. But yeah, I agree with you. It was definitely a bit of fluff, but it was it's always going to be that until you kind of want to get like a behind the scenes after they've released it and it's made them X amount of dollars and see like what they really have to say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway,
Yeah,
that's
totally
that.
agree. Tashara.
Bring along.
Who?
That's the Tashara is the name of
Tashara.
the planet.
Yeah.
That the windy planet.
The windy planet. I thought
The
you were
planet
talking
what has wind.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about Jeddah for a second. I was like, yeah, Jeddah had wind things. Yeah, that's true.
Did.
I'm not quite ready for my 4th beer yet. I
No,
don't know
nor
how
am I.
you guys are going.
No,
So-
I'm not either.
Let's
Fuck the run sheet.
We're in overtime because we were supposed to finish at 5. So let's get stuck into our
Time is a
spotlight.
construct. Fuck everything.
You're the one that's on the time limit, man. So.
I'm not. I run my own gambit. Yes, let's get into. I don't know how we're really going to do this because I thought we'd probably review the things we've seen and then refer back to other things. Maybe?
Yeah.
Let's talk
I
about
think
the
that's-
movie that Dan's wearing the shirt of because that was fucking fantastic. Sisu.
Sisu.
So we were lucky enough to get an invite through I'm a Dendy member in Newtown, and they sent me an email saying, "Hey, you want to come to the premiere night of this movie?" And we obviously trailer trashed it a while ago and said, "Fuck yeah, we really want to watch that one." And then it was like, come along, give you a beer, you get to sit down and watch a movie, everyone's happy.
He was a good example where the movie lived up to the fucking trailer.
Yeah, a really good example. Look, I don't know what else you can say, but that was fucking fantastic. That is one of the best films I've seen in a long time. The action was so over the top, but
in a really outlier kind of way.
It's slightly absurdist.
The best use of a landmine in a movie ever.
Yes.
And Pete actually said a really good thing after you left, Dan. We were went and got a feed afterwards, and really made me think of how it kind of changed the film, but also in the better way, that we thought up until the truck moment, everything was true. And then after that, it was just all the tall tales about Sisu.
Yeah.
Because everything after that truck moment, there's a truck and some people get killed and all this kind of stuff, everything just went slightly just off the path. It was it was going down a really okay, cool. Yep, dude's doing his thing. Finds
it was probably originally 5 dudes and 5 Nazis, and he managed somehow through a mix of luck and skill managed to kill all of them, and that's
white-knuckled grit and determination.
Yes. Yeah. And just through folklore storytelling has grown into this.
Well, that's the thing, because it would have spread through the army as they're escaping the north, just gone fuck, Sisu could come get us. Fuck, we better be quick about what we're doing. Because that after that, it was when everything kind of went. It was believable up until that point. I refer to the carrying the dude with the mounted gun. I've watched enough ballistic videos over the years to know that would go through him. That
40 cal's going straight through, and in fact, those a 40 or a 50 cal could kill you from up to, because they were talking about this during Afghanistan, actually during the real war, that you only need to be shot within a meter.
Yeah.
So if a bullet
passes
passes
the air or something,
no, the shockwave liquefies your organs.
Yeah.
So if a bullet passes within a meter of your body, you're fucked either way.
Yeah. But yeah, fantastic. I cannot recommend enough for people to go watch that. Need a slightly strong stomach, I think. There were some pretty gory moments in that film. But also they're Nazis, so they fucking deserve to die.
And I just think it's watching that whole thing, I've just described it to some people that I've said should go and watch this. It's John Wick World War II. And I think
John Wick World War II with a dash of Tarantino and shot in the frame of some Mad Max.
Yeah.
And it's funny now, what we were talking about Spotlight now is about the evolution of action movies, and I think we reached a point with John Wick where you can go, it's now before John Wick and after John Wick. I think that now is the pin in the change of action movies.
Yeah. I don't actually know. I think because we're going to talk about Extraction as the other kind of films we're kind of mini reviewing in this, I think it's the development of the hero to be less superhuman and more I guess connected with himself. Chris Hemsworth's portrayal in Extraction is there's some moments where you're fuck,
he's a broken dude.
Yeah.
He's a
I think that's the development of that guy can also kill 30,000 people if he really wanted to. But at the same time, he has a perfectly good human arc story of development. And
but Brad Pitt was the same in Bullet Train. He's suffering from PTSD from being a contract killer, and he just wants out.
I think that's what people are looking for more these days in their action film is, yes, we want big explosions, we want gritty kind of fights in close quarters fights, but we also want the character to be something more than I'm John Rambo,
a pop-out action hero.
Yeah.
And I think one of the ones that Pete's got in there for the 90s examples is a really great version of that is True Lies. Yeah. I mean, Arnie had the wife and the daughter in True Lies. Yep. Wife and a daughter. But really, he was just the stereotypical for that time, over the top, what people imagine a
Macho
CIA
man.
agent
Yeah.
is when they're not. And then from now we've gotten these. Extraction is set around Hemsworth's. God, what's his? I want to call him Tyler, but it's not Tyler.
Tyler Rake.
It is Tyler, is it? Okay,
Tyler Rake.
I was right. So he's ex-military that now specializes in kidnap
Recovery
extraction.
missions.
Recovery. There we go. That's a better example of it. And then you've got the John Wick side of it, where he's an ex-assassin and all that. So, and then Sisu is just an ex-commando who runs through a bad situation. It's and I mean, even Brad Pitt's character in Bullet Train is an assassin who wants to keep doing missions but no longer wants to kill. He's become a pacifist in his assassination career, the tail end of his assassination career. So,
which reminds me really of a great era in the Guardians of the Galaxy comics where Drax becomes a pacifist and refuses to fight, and he dons robes and like wrapped up like legging like feet and like boots and stuff, and he's just like, nope, I do not do violence anymore. I've done violence for so long. I'm no longer the destroyer. I'm just the pacifist thing. And how Brad Pitt's like character in Bullet Train did a really good job of like trying to get around it, and then as in the comic, inadvertently just finally goes, fuck, I've just got to do the thing again. Like,
yeah. I think so. Really, the topic's really about how has the genre of action films changed over the last 30 years or evolved over the last 30 years, and I think. And so I've thrown up a couple of examples of the 90s, the 90s movies. The recent examples are easy because we've talked about them. John Wick, Sisu, Extraction 1 and 2, Bullet Train, Grey Man, Ghosted. That's kind of just off the top, of action films that we've seen recently that aren't superhero movies because that's kind of their own genre.
Yeah.
And to me, even Extraction 1 and 2 pushed it a little bit. Extraction 1 more than 2 pushed the boundary. To me, they are shot and presented more like a war film than they are an action film. And a war film is slightly different.
No.
But it kind of has that, and it's not just because he's ex-military and he's following specific tactics. I mean, it's shot and presented in a way that reminded me a lot of a good modern war film.
It's a lot more brutal.
Yeah. But
it definitely had that John Wick-esque like character, like style to it, especially the way he like close combat with his pistol and stuff.
But I found it more realistic in Extraction than John Wick, and I also found it gorier.
Yes. It's more visceral.
Yes. But what? So thinking about this topic, and then the 90s examples were Mission Impossible 1, True Lies / Last Action Hero, but in retrospect, Last Action Hero is probably not an appropriate one. Die Hard with a Vengeance. Because Die Hard came out in 89, 88.
I actually have to disagree with you on the Die Hard ones. I actually think I think
it's not an action film.
Well, no.
No, it's a Christmas film.
Where we're talking about here is we're getting to a point where not just the way the movies are filmed and everything like that, but we have a lot more. The characters are not
flawed and nuanced.
Typical Arnie True Lies character. They're now flawed and nuanced. And I actually think John McClane, even from Die Hard 1 through Die Hard 2 to Die Hard with a Vengeance, has this character arc. And then, I mean, you even hit the later ones, the Die Hard 4.0. And I don't even remember what the last one was. But you have this
Die Hard Cash Cow.
Yeah.
2Furious. Die Hard Tokyo Drift.
There's your episode title there. Yeah. If you go the first, you go the first three Die Hards, and there's actually a lot of character development from John McClane. He goes from going to visit his wife, where he's on the other side of the country as a cop, going back to LA, and then you have the second one where he's caught in the airport, and they're having a troubled time as a family. And there's still character development there. And then you go to A Vengeance, where he's thrown into this completely different situation from the first two movies. He's got Samuel L. Jackson there as a counterpoint and a different view to American lifestyle and culture and history.
Yeah.
And you throw these two characters together that have their differences but are on the same wavelength when it comes to ultimately wanting to do and needing to do the right thing as you go through. I think John McClane is what modern movies have developed into, and it was a little bit of an outlier in the original three.
I also find so for me, I think violence has changed in 30 years.
Oh,
Mhm.
yes, I have a
Cinema
point on this.
violence. So
I need to pee again, so make your point,
Go.
Tom, but you might have to reiterate when I get back.
I was just going to say, I actually think that we need to throw in that you got the 90s films, which is very different. But I think instead of John Wick being the turning point, Bourne movies were the turning point.
mm,
And then John Wick was another turning point. So it's like a,
You're right.
Yep.
Yep.
fuck yes. Well done, Tom.
yeah,
What were you
I
going to
think
say? Yeah.
I think violence has changed. I think whilst we've gotten more technically accurate gun fu, that's become a thing, and it's more visceral and immediate and urgent.
Really directs into that point I just made, because Bourne was all about it had to be really fast, close quarters fighting. It wasn't
And real.
gung fu compared to like what John Wick does.
Yes,
So
But-
that's actually a really good way to describe the turning points of these action films. Like,
but I also think that if you go back to the 90s, violence was a lot more violent. There was more blood, in my opinion.
it was also a lot more. It was big. It was big. Everything had to be super big.
Michael Bay explosions kind of started in the 90s, right? That's where that started.
Yeah.
But I think, like, if you even think so, Die Hard with a Vengeance isn't that graphically violent, except for the psychopathic woman stabbing with those sickles, and she didn't fuck around, and her slashing that guy's throat and then stabbing him and then doing the big spinny circle. It was glorifying violence in a way. And then, but even down to the fucking and they didn't actually show you the impact, but the chain on the boat at the end cutting that dude in half, and then they show you him being carried away by two different people, the front half and the back half.
Yeah.
You don't get a lot of that kind of level of blood and gore and violence in most action films today, other than Sisu. And Sisu stands out as being over the top and ridiculous in terms of its approach to depicting violence.
Oh, he's turned a light on.
He has turned a light
I
on.
turned a second light on. I'm really working with secondary lights here because my study's still not set up.
No, all good.
No, I really think the idea of like the way that, because you can't really have an action film without those violent sets. I guess is like it's bread and butter kind of thing. But I really like that idea of using the way that the violence changes as the hallmark moment of that's how action films are going to change going forward. And I think a really good way to describe it as well is like if we think back to like Bond films, because Bond completely changed after Bourne. Like,
Yes.
if you think that the Daniel Craig
Yes.
Bond films are so different to the earlier films, where they also had the gadgets and like most
Well,
of
Tomorrow
like,
Never Dies was the 90s. Example of a Bond
GoldenEye,
film.
yeah. But then like you think that was also the change away from, well, not so much the change away, but like a lot of them, like the 90s action films, you had that cheesy, like Arnie in True Lies firing the Harrier missile while he says the cheesy one-liner. Like that's a hallmark characteristic of those 90s action films. But then you got to the Bourne series and everything became
Ultra realistic.
and ultra gritty, and then it all focused on that close combat fighting. And Bond went, we need to do that to stay relevant.
Yeah.
Like I don't think we'll get a Bond film now where he suddenly learns gung fu. Like
No.
he's not going to go down that John Wick kind of feel, but it'll continue changing. Like they're the ones who kind of like, I guess were the hallmarks in earlier days of like those kind of action and spy films, and now they're almost kind of like reactive to what's big in other studios kind of thing. But yeah, I really like that idea of like the way that the action set pieces change from, I think 90s films, I think over the top, sparky explosions. It was always like a rocket exploded, and it was just the Power Ranger sparks kind of went.
But it was always big platform.
Yeah, always big. Yeah. And then you go to the Bourne era where it is really about that close quarters fighting, and now post John Wick, it's how cleverly you can use a gun as a weapon besides just shooting it, especially a pistol.
Yeah.
Like it's that kind of that natural evolution from that close quarters like melee combat into now it's close quarters gun combat.
Yeah.
And I think it's gone one level above that too. I mean, I think it's gone to how cleverly can you use a camera to film those shots, and especially with the prison scene in Extraction 2.
Fuck me, that was my favorite scene.
They film it through as a single take. Obviously, there's clever cuts in there, but they film it through as a one shot, and I think that's an evolution of all that as well. It's just like, and I mean, I've touted it many times on here before. My love of one shots. I do love a proper traditional one shot. But the clever cut one shot is a good second to that.
It's one of the best fight scenes I've seen in modern cinema.
It's very good.
That prison yard, and as I said to you, it instantly evoked Batman's fight scene in Batman v Superman with the guys upstairs
in the warehouse.
In the warehouse. It's so visceral and physical and continuously evolving and adapting to the situation around them. To me,
so there's the Batman. God, what was the one that was made by Warner Brothers Studio? Or Origins, Batman Arkham Origins.
Oh, yeah.
Had the Blackgate fight. And as soon as you said that, Pete, I'm like, good God, like they just need to have a 20-minute fight scene of Batman going through a prison riot in Arkham. Let's just throw Pattinson in the Batman 2 into a full-blown 20-minute Arkham Blackgate.
It's such a perfect way.
Yeah.
It'd be such a perfect way to nod to a bunch of other characters they may bring in.
Also, because he took the shield off the shield-wielding dude and then used it, which I did many times in the Arkham series.
But it was such a good use of props as well, and he makes use of the environment. I found it quite realistic. Like, I'm not saying that it's
definitely.
real, but it's the way that you think that it would, like, people at peak levels of close quarters combat would probably fight that way. It was almost Jackie Chan-esque, but kind of Western instead of Eastern.
Military Western.
Yeah. By the way, Dan, you talk about except for Batman not killing anyone, and yet I rewatched 89 Batman the other day, and dropping the bombs from the Batmobile in Ace Chemicals definitely killed those fucking dudes.
Several comments when you said that of like, yes, because no one directly died from Batman's like actions in the Arkham series.
He drove in, dropped bombs under armor, and drove
even in the
out
Arkham
before
series,
blowing them
like,
up.
he
They were
definitely
standing
dropped some dudes on their necks that never fully recovered.
They never fully recover, right? He has a thing about maiming, but no,
he has a thing about maiming.
So I'm talking comic book Batman, not movie Batman.
I get
like
it,
movie. Every version of the movie Batman kills people. Like
except the current ones where he's made such a big deal out of schooling Superman as to why he can't kill. But then you go back and
because the moment that killed me in Batman and Robin was pulling out the Bat credit card. That just killed me. I was like, "Fuck you."
But Alyssa Silverstone. We'd let everything else
Schumacher.
the other thing I wanted to say around over the last 30 years how action films have changed is the more obvious and more probably discussed that, in our show, you step away from action, women are better portrayed in current action films. It was basically exclusively male territory in the 90s.
Yeah.
And you think about those films, whilst True Lies certainly had a you couldn't call it a co-star. I was trying to avoid naming her because I knew how Tom would avoid.
It's there.
Do it again. Do it slowly. I knew you'd go there, man. But
I was already there. Don't you worry. I was just holding it in. Yeah.
but you think of like obviously Ghosted was designed. The premise
the
of
Old
the film
Guard.
was.
Did you watch The Old Guard with
Charlize Theron?
Yeah.
No,
comic.
Go watch that. It's so
go watch that.
Yeah. Fucking fantastic.
Old Guard. Okay,
but it's another great example of what you're saying of showing a really strong female action character.
Yeah, and I think obviously Ghosted's whole shtick was to flip gender roles on their ass, and I thought it did it quite well. It wasn't too, oh my god, look at us, look how brave we're being. It was just telling a cool story, and it just happened to have a female. Really, yeah. But even Grey Man had Anna de Armas, and she was an important character throughout that film.
Compared to her in the latest Bond film, where it was like literally just, hey, can you shoot this gun for a second and then fuck off?
Yeah.
Thanks very much. Yeah.
No,
Now,
Extraction was the one that did it the best, I reckon. Extraction 2 with the
handler.
The handler lady.
Yeah.
Oh,
she was in both.
I know she was in both. I watched the first one when it came out, so I don't have an enormous amount of memory about what actually even happened in the first one. She just took
a couple of shots in the first one. I watched the other day.
She was... she wasn't important until the end of the film, but she was pretty important in the bridge scene at the end.
In the second one, she's
also fucking smoking.
And the fight scene that they throw her into on the roof at the helicopter, where she's up against the two other special forces commandos, the way they choreograph that, and this is down to the stuntman, the director, who's the stuntman choreographer, is the way they do those fight scenes with her is so complementary to her body size and style that it rolls and it feels natural. It's not a small, petite, 50-kilo woman, I don't know how much she weighs, but taking a full-blown hook punch from a 120-kilo male. She rolls and does these MMA moves where she tangles and rolls and use the body weight against them and continues on, takes them out, moves on to the next one.
It's early Black Widow, the way that early Black Widow fought in Iron Man 2,
Exactly. And then it's those sort of styles
using the
that
inertia.
they need to be leaning more into. It's not it's unrealistic for any female to stand there and you put a female MMA up against the equal male MMA fighter. They are not going to be able to withstand the power that's there, but they might have the speed and the technique to take it out. And that's what they're leaning into in Extraction, which I think is absolutely fantastic.
If I'm going to die, it's going to be with her sitting on top of me, reloading a gun and then shooting me. Like, what a way to go.
I think she could just suffocate me. Be quite happy to go that way too.
Yeah. But her name is 100%. The way she uses the inertia of the dudes against them is it's clever fighting, which is also a development we need to see in these films.
It's also very real.
Yeah,
it's also
but we need to get to that. Like, this is now the move away from the 90s action films where it was just like bombs go boom, like, you know.
And a bunch of dudes owning that whole genre. So her name is Golshifteh Farahani.
Yep.
She is in both films. She is smoking fucking hot in a very unusual kind of way too. I don't know. She's Iranian. I was going to say I didn't know if she was Israeli or kind of further north in the Middle East. I really thought that was cool because I had recently seen something about female martial arts or female defense courses being specifically tailored, particularly around jiu-jitsu and groundwork like judo rolls and those sorts of things, but tailored to women hold their center of gravity and the concentration of weight in their body is distributed differently to men. And so when you're teaching women's self-defense courses and you're tailoring them to women, you're actually tailoring them to the specifics of their body shape and their body, where their weight and dynamics kind of and their power comes from. I thought that was very interesting because they did that very well, as you say, in Extraction 2.
It's because every regular dude still punches like Indiana Jones, where he winds his arm straight back and just fucking throws it forward.
Yeah. Well, the haymaker.
I think this is a stark contrast to going back to what we spoke about earlier in the show about The Witcher 3. So when Ciri gets caught by I think she gets attacked by the Scoia'tael or somebody within the ruins where the roses are, season 3. And
Scoia'tael, yep.
Yeah, she's got 3 grown men.
Fucking what's his name? Amel came in.
Later on, going up against a 15-year-old girl, and she stands there and blocks their punches. There's no rolling with it. There's no no using the inertia of the fight, and it looked like it was one of the biggest choreography missteps I think they took in that series.
I think they did it on purpose, though, and I think it was designed to send the wrong message. I think it was specifically designed to say, I am the next Geralt. I'm going to approach this fight the way that Geralt would. I was trained to make it.
It was done wrong because you've got a 6'6" giant, 130
It was a physical
kilo
impossibility.
It was a physical impossibility, as where if they rolled with it the same way they did in an Extraction and taught technique, which is what the witches would have taught her and did teach her in the book.
Because you have the House of the Cat, so it's not like they're immune to the concept of being lithe and agile.
But all of the witches are. I mean, even speaking in the books, when Lambert's training Ciri, it's stop, pirouette, duck, dodge, sidestep, pirouette, and this is it's a dance to them. It's you need to do this, and that didn't come.
And the
across.
best fight scenes in Witcher were dances. You have
were dances. That's exactly it. And
that's the way Geralt fights in the game. Is he fights like a dancer.
So if they'd lent into that and given Ciri that more, okay, you've got a 15-year-old girl, you've got 4 full-grown 100-kilo males coming at her. Do these rolls, do these moves, use this inertia. It would have been such a more beautiful fight scene and something that could have been equal to what they did in Extraction and brought through. And I just it's a huge misstep. I know it's different people, different stunt choreographers, and different budgets, but it would have made all the difference, I think.
So just on the violence. So when you went to the bathroom, Dan, we were talking about the changes in the portrayal of violence in action films over the last 30 years. And I think with some outliers like Sisu, we have a lot less gore and glorification of violence in action films these days. And whilst we've talked about, like, John Wick, lots of dudes get macked by guns. Sisu, lots of people, like, lots of gory violence. Extraction 1 and 2, lots of people die, but again, it wasn't too. It's not like arms get chopped off and blood.
Are you about to say it's not fucking gory? Because that film was fucking outrageous. He ripped a dude's hand in half. He crushes a dude in a weights machine.
Yep.
Fuck me.
What I was going to say though is they're almost all outliers to most of the action that we're watching these days, and that is superhero films, where there's almost zero gore, there's no blood. Can you imagine a boat chain cutting someone in half today on a movie, the way that Die Hard with a Vengeance did? It would be an outline.
What was that ghost film from like the early 2000s? And I think it's just called Ghost Ship. And the opening of it is the wire going through everyone.
Yeah.
That's what I think of.
But like, unless you're watching a horror film, there isn't that much that glorification of violence anymore. I think that has changed as well.
I think the respectable use of it has come.
I don't know. There's been plenty of films I've watched recently where like someone really like shatters a leg bone or an arm bone. There's like, it's not the kill, it's the wounding. I think that's gotten, I guess, a bit more savage.
So here's a question. Do you think there's been a movie released in the last 5 years that you would call an action film that is better than Die Hard with a Vengeance?
Yes.
I don't remember the last time I watched Die Hard with a Vengeance. I need to go back.
It's one of my all-time favorite action
I
films.
love Die Hard with a Vengeance. Yeah.
It was for me, it was a perfect balance of drama, tension, action, and comedy.
But it was also a clever evolution of the Die Hard series.
Yes.
The first two could have translatable to be the same.
Yeah. Set in a different setting.
Yeah.
I chose my words wrong there.
It was a clever evolution of, we need to do something new or this one's going to flop. And they had a good writing and a good production team to come through and successfully do that in a time where they probably stepped well outside what sequels were doing.
Yeah.
To be
which was just
different.
Milk that fucking cow.
Well, it was, but I mean, you look at things like Rambo, First Blood Part 2, and then you go into the drastic change that is Rambo 3, and that was a huge.
Oh, I even
shift.
think that there's a bigger shift between Rambo 1 and Rambo 2.
Well, there is, because Rambo
I haven't
1,
seen 2.
Well, Rambo 1 he kills one dude. Rambo 2 he kills like 70. Because Rambo 1 really deals with the
dudes.
It's him dealing with his PTSD more than it's him being. And then suddenly in Rambo 2, it's like, well, John Rambo's a killing machine, so we better get him out there killing.
Yes. Yeah, so it's not him dealing with coming back from the war and being mistreated and slipping back into that war mentality. That's changed. But 3 has that big shift where it's headband Rambo, unrealistic exploding tipped arrows, taking out helicopters, muscles twitching while he's holding the M16, whatever it is, not a chain gun, but the bullet feed. So there's the massive shift there, and I mean they could have taken that route and sent John McClane down the unrealistic, but they didn't. They made him a broken alcoholic man.
It was grounded
and a proper story.
And but
that's where it makes a difference.
So the reason I asked the question, I look at and they're just the examples, right? So there's a million other action films we've seen in the last 30 years, but if I look, John Wick is excellent, but not flawless. Sisu was I think an outlier. I think we just have to put that aside because it's its own.
It's very different. Yeah.
But Extraction 1 and 2 were good films, but surprisingly good in an era. And for it to be surprising means it stands out from other stuff we've seen recently in that same kind of vein. Bullet Train was good. Grey Man was good, surprisingly good. Ghosted was a bit meh, but it wasn't bad. But to me, I would take Die Hard with Vengeance over every single one of those films. Every single one of them.
Well, I was thinking I think one of the really good action films I've seen recently, which stuck with me post it, has been like Nobody. That was with Bob Odenkirk. That was such a good film. But for the way it did kind of, I guess, stand out in its own kind of way. And that's pretty recent. That was, 2 years ago? Oh, Pete, another one out of your list. You've got a couple of
movies to watch. Old Guard and Nobody, followed by True Detective.
Yeah.
And I've got to play Baldur's Gate 3 tonight too.
Oh, Pete.
Actually, Pete, the one thing I did want to ask you, because I went to try and do this the other day, and because I don't have Paramount Plus, I couldn't. But I wanted to... I'm kind of keen. I haven't really seen a Mission Impossible since, I think, 4.
Okay.
I think 4 was the last one I won. But
I can lend you the DVD box set if it helps.
Please. But in terms of talking about action films in the last 20, 30 years, how about because you've seen them all, haven't you? Yeah,
I have.
But was just like the way they've adapted over the years? That's like a pretty good Bond. It's a nice.
They were influenced, yeah. So Mission Impossible, in my opinion, has been influenced pretty heavily by Bourne.
Yeah.
Look, the first Mission Impossible did something that we hadn't seen, and that was the modern spycraft.
Yes,
it stepped away from Cold War era tension building. And their spycraft was more about technology-driven changes. And it did it in a very interesting and surprising way. Like the masks, like the Seymour Hoffman. What was his first name? John?
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Philip Seymour Hoffman. That was the second movie?
Third.
Yeah? Okay. I'm not going to look it up. I trust you.
Say third one more
film.
time, motherfucker.
Third.
I dare you. I double dog dare you.
Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, Mission Impossible stands apart from most action franchises because it's more about the spectacle. It's almost the Michael Bay, but with stunts instead of explosions. It's not an action film in the traditional sense. It is, but at the same time, it's kind of its own thing. I think it's not competing with anything else is why I say it's its own thing. The only thing Mission Impossible 8, I think we're up to, or 7.
Yeah.
The only thing that movie is competing with is itself. It's the 6th movie.
Well, it's how
it's got to
big
make the
can Tom
stunts
Cruise
bigger.
make his one stunt this time.
And as much as I think the guy's a fucking wanker, on film he's a fucking good actor who is entrenched in his craft in a way that I wish more actors were.
You can't fault the man's self-belief.
Yeah, but without the negative connotations of that statement as well. I mean, I said this before when we talked about Top Gun Maverick. We would not have a Top Gun film or a second Top Gun film if he hadn't invested his own time, money, and an aircraft into making that film.
That's kind of what I meant by self-belief, though. Is he pushes. He makes the thing. He makes the things.
It's his passion.
He manifests his own destiny. Let's put it that way. There you go.
Yeah. Yes, I think we need to close this chapter of the discussion, and I need to take a leak before I talk about my fourth beer.
Yes, we need to do the fourth.
Do you guys want to start with your fourth beers?
I'll start with my fourth beer because it's delicious. I have gone south for this beer, as south as I can in
Gone south.
these. How many states? 6, 7? I don't know.
States and territories.
Yep. Now I've gone to Tassie. I've gone for Fox Friday Trust but Verify Black IPA.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice. Is it good?
No. It's good. It's good. It's dark, roasty, hoppy, dank. It is. They've done well this. I know you didn't like that last beer we had of theirs.
Didn't I? What was the last one I had of theirs?
We had a Pilsner of theirs that you absolutely tore to shreds. Fuck. It was ruthless. So they've used what I love about the Fox Friday brand and their packaging is that they are one of those breweries that list everything on there. They're not hiding anything. They're telling you exactly what they used. So first, we'll start with the hops. They've used Simcoe and Amarillo. So, tick. That's what you want in your black IPA. The malts they've used is pale, malted oats, Cara Munich T2, midnight wheat, and cinema. And then they've used...
cinema is not a malt. Yeah, it's a malt extract. It's a liquefied dark extract taken from Carafa 3 malt with it. So it gives you color without giving you flavor.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
See, on this podcast, people know stuff.
And then
so refreshing. You don't write shit down in the fucking show notes, though.
BRY 97 as a yeast. Is that a
BRY 97 is the Lallemand West Coast Ale yeast.
Well, fucking that explains
spoken
it.
Spoken like someone.
This is sensational. This is very, very
tasty.
tasty.
Good yeast. Yeah,
this is
only
really,
a fucking head brewer would know that shit, Dan.
That's why we keep
just
him around.
my encyclopedic knowledge of fucking beer.
Yeah, exactly. But no, this is a cracking black IPA. It is, as I said, it's really nice and roasty. And I know you can't really taste dark, but you can. But it tastes dark, and then it's just got this really nice hit of hops and dank coming through. That is sensational. Yes, I might have some bias towards the black IPA style because it is the greatest style known to man. But that is a very good example of all the black IPAs I've had. It's very, very tasty. That is a 4.75.
Excellent.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. I just think it needs a little. The hops are at like an 8, and I would like them to go up to a 10. Just needs a little bit more punch in the face of that hoppy dankiness. Yeah.
Can I get you to fill in the show notes?
Yes, chef. Right away, chef.
Dan, what are you drinking, mate?
I'm drinking, full disclosure, I got this can for free from The German. I'm drinking Philter super cool lager. It's their cold, I probably should have read this in a better light. It's their cold fermented hoppy lager. It's a new super cool lager, super clean, crisp, refreshing, brewed with extreme sessionability, light malt body, classic dry fruit, inspired by, this is a Japanese rice lager, is what it is.
Nice.
So
this podcast is taking on quite a oriental theme this episode.
I decided to have this last to make sure it cut through all the sugar from the cannoli sweet sour that I just had, and it's wonderfully. It's got a mild haze to it, but it's a beautiful, clean, fresh, light-bodied, dry rice lager that has a real nice American hop hit to it. It's a really beautiful finish to the beers I've had tonight, so I'm very happy with that. I'm going to give it a solid 4.25.
Ooh.
I didn't say it on the recording when I was waxing lyrical about the beauty of black IPAs, but mine is 7.3%.
Oof.
Oh.
Oof.
Delightful.
Is nice. I got to admit, the beer that I'm drinking, I thought was a big beer. It is not. I think it should be.
Fooled again.
Yes. So this is Sailor's Grave Hanabi. which is why I say this is taking on quite the Oriental theme. This podcast. So this is a
Except
Japanese.
for me, I obviously missed that memo because nothing that I've had
but
has
we've also-
been remotely Oriental.
But we also talked about American-born Chinese, and there was some other Oriental fucking themes throughout the episode. So anyway,
Bullet train set in Tokyo.
drawing a
Tis-
long bow there, but sure, go ahead.
Hey, well, Pete was the one that brought it up, so
yes.
Peter, how is it?
It's great. It is a Japanese-style dark lager with Sancho pepper.
Poison. Poison.
Is it a chili, is it?
Oh, yeah, that should kill me.
Okay.
it
I didn't know.
It sounded like a chili to me.
What a
That's
way to
what
go.
I- That's
could
what
have just
I
been a
assumed.
type of fucking pepper, cracked pepper. I don't know.
Correct.
Are you looking it up, Tom? To see
Oh,
what it
am I
is?
ever? Yeah.
Collab with Craft Rock Brewing. A
The
dark
first thing
lager-
that comes up is actually a YouTube. When I type in Sancho Pepper, the first thing that comes up is a link to Real Ale Craft Beer reviewing this beer. Look at that.
Yeah, right. Okay. A dark lager brewed with rice and Japanese Sancho pepper. The citrusness of Sancho sparkles like fireworks in the night sky. Collab with Craft Rock Brewing. It's excellent, I have to say. It's only 5%. The only thing that lets this beer down is I really think it should have been 7.5%. Somewhere in that space. I just think it needs
So what is
Like
it?
A really
bite.
big lager.
How much is it?
5%.
Oh, okay. So you
I
want
just-
it like over 2% more.
Yeah, I just think
It's power level. It's over 9,000.
I just think it's begging for that the sharp bite of alcohol.
Okay.
So
Not something that's usually said about a lager.
it's very floral.
Okay.
It has a level of sweetness to it it's not an obvious sweetness, but that is what I'm kind of getting. But it's got
So do you
a real.
think
It's funny. Sorry.
A bigger hit of bitterness would have been something that could have substituted for that balance.
No. So if you made it bitter, it'd erode the sweetness levels, and I actually think it needs to finish sweet. It finishes very dry. My broken nasal cavities, because I've got a blocked nose right this minute. I've got a blocked nose. Smells like soy sauce. I don't know why, but it doesn't taste anything like soy sauce at all.
Okay, good.
But it tastes very floral with a sweet finish, with a sweet dry finish. I'm thoroughly enjoying it though. It is excellent. I just really wish it had just a bit more ABV. I just feel like it
Just
could
a little
really
kicker
bit
for
of
the
a-
end of your
Yeah,
evening.
no, it could have. I mean,
Not
look,
necessarily
I've got
empty.
10%ers in the fridge, but I just think it really could have done with a bit of a punch to it. That's all. I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5. I'm glad that's how I finished my night. Well, finished the podcast. I think I might crack one of those tenors. Yes, dark lager.
The Sancho pepper, by the way, is not a like chili, but it does contain some tingly heat.
Okay, I'm not getting any heat whatsoever.
But it's
Yeah,
it's in that like pepper capsicum family, is it?
More towards not the pepper in terms of like ground pepper, like what Pete was kind of more saying.
Yeah, okay,
As
so
opposed to
pepper
like
berries.
capsicum. Yeah, pepper.
Yeah,
berries,
okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I wasn't completely wrong.
No, you weren't for once.
Usually am,
Asshole.
but thank you very much. hey Dan, are you winning, son?
Yeah, I am. I finally finished Doom Eternal. Finally.
Yay!
After such a long time of playing it. And I got up to the last mission just before I had to deconstruct my PC for 5 or 6 weeks and move out of home because of unknown burning issues. But it was, I don't think I've ever gone back to a game after disliking it as much as I did dislike Doom
Yeah, because
Eternal.
you really shat on it when you first went through it.
I
Yeah.
don't think that's a fair characterization of what he said on the podcast. I just think, Dan, you made it very clear that it didn't have the gravity and a lot of the stuff that you really enjoyed about 2016 Doom wasn't present.
And I still don't think
You
it
didn't
does.
shit on it.
Yeah, I still enjoyed
I think you
the
In the Dan way.
I'll do
In his
it.
Dan
I'm
way.
going to go instant replay. I'm going to
No,
call
Pete's
back.
going to go back and read the receipts. I'm just going off memory.
Yes. Anyway, we got to a point. I jumped back into it because I really wanted to get into the world of Doom because I fucking love it. I think it's so fast paced, and I love the Doom Slayer and like just randomly pulling eyeballs out of demons and shoving them down their throats and all the other shit you do when you do the glory kills. But I jumped back in. I gave it a fair go, and I played on wuss mode all the way through, and thoroughly enjoyed it. And the turning point in the story, like I said to you guys, if I hadn't have had the subtitles on, I wouldn't have even noticed. I'd been skipping the lore books that you pick up and not reading them, just because
It's very silly of you.
think it had much gravitas in a Doom game. And then something was said in a cutscene, and I'm like, but it was a line. If you blinked, you missed it. If you didn't have the subtitles on, you missed it. And I'm like, ooh, that's interesting. And then the very next lore book I picked up directly referenced what I'd saw. So they knew this was going to happen. They had this in mind when they developed it and laid the lore books out and the cutscenes out and everything that was said in a specific way it was said in this game. And from there on out, the last third of the game, I read every lore book I picked up, and it just
fuck you, Suey.
It made me giddy, and it made me happy that they had directly linked Doom Eternal back to the very first Doom game.
Oh, wow.
And I was so happy and so thrilled that they'd put this through line in, and it just, and then you get to even more towards the end, and the Doomslayer walks through an automated door that opens for him, and the voice that comes over, it says something that is never referenced again and never spoken about again. But you go, ooh, that was something. And then they completely ignore it. It's not spoken about again. It's literally left up to your interpretation of what's been said and what's presented to you in the lore books, and how you continue on through these last few cutscenes about who the Doomslayer is and where he fits into this world. And the end of this game, it really fleshes out what is happening in hell, earth, and heaven, and across the environments
and heaven.
Well, not necessarily heaven, but the other realms are involved.
The counterpoint to hell.
Yeah, and it's not even really hell. It's just an alternate dimension that is within the Earth realm. And it without giving you spoilers, because I know Tom wants to play it, and I don't want to throw these things away, because I was absolutely enamored. Enamored, is that the right word? Encapsulated by the last third of the game.
You were enslaved by the Doomslayer.
It definitely was. It was brilliant, and I loved it. And I still preferred 2016 when it came to navigating the environment. It was the gritty space base on Mars that you played through, as where Eternal threw a whole bunch of different. It had floating platforms for you to jump to, and there was glowing globes that would like replenish your dash as you jumped through the air. And that's the stuff I didn't like about Eternal. It didn't feel like,
it was a bit too arcadey.
Massive quotations, real world. As where Eternal really broke that wall about being an arcadey game.
Right.
But the lore behind it was beautiful.
Because I found Doom 2016 is very, very arcadey. It has a gravity about it.
Eternal is very much more arcadey. So you have swirling, tri-armed, flaming balls, like windmill things that are just floating in the middle of the air, because you need to jump through them and do a platforming level to get to the next section.
Right. Okay.
So that's the level of difference in the arcadey. So 16 is completely grounded in comparison to where Eternal is.
2016 is just a lesson in never stop moving.
Yes.
Oh, and Eternal is never stop moving, but use every single ability and power they give you to finish the game. Because if you don't, 2016 you had armor caches, ammo caches that you could replenish all of your ammo, and there was a lot more.
Unless you were
pickups.
playing on the hardest level like that I did, and that.
Well, Eternal,
Never-
you don't get any of that until you do glory kills and not glory kills, chainsaw kills. So you need to do chainsaw kills on enemies to get ammo. Otherwise, you can literally run out of ammo.
Yeah,
so in
right.
2016, you had a pistol that never ran out.
Yeah.
Infinite ammo. Eternal, you do not have that. But it will spawn the lowest level enemy every now and then in an arena, so you can chainsaw kill them to get more ammo. But you need to use your abilities to boost up your armor, to boost up your health, to build, like, do all these things and chain all these bits and pieces together. So it's I would find myself, once I finished an arena, having to pull back from leaning into the camera, leaning into the monitor, because my heart rate was going and I would just get more and more tense and I'd have to pull back. So I'm so glad I finished it. I'm definitely going to jump into the 2 expansions they've got, even though they haven't got great reviews, just because I want more Doom.
Yeah, fair enough.
I just want more Doom. So who's
Nice.
next?
Peter,
Who's winning,
are you,
son, next?
Peter, are you winning, son? Tell us about your Xbox. Fucking traitor
I gotta
dog.
pee.
It was really good. High on Life. Let's talk about
Start
High
with your
on
game.
Life.
Yes, let's start with
Yeah.
your game.
It was exactly what I thought it would be. It was funny all the way through. It got a little boring towards the end.
In terms of like
formulaic.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
You could tell, like, there wasn't a whole lot of scope.
Right.
It was even to the point where, because there's more than one gun. That's the one thing that you don't kind of know from watching the trailers that we watched. There are more than one gun, and they have different mechanics around them. They have different voicing. I think
Isn't
you
the
made
the DLC is based around the knife, isn't it?
yeah, and the knife turns into a chain knife or a chain sword from 40K.
For reasons.
For reasons, I don't know. And like the voicing is fucking hilarious. The humor is like Rick and Morty level funny. Like I laughed my ass off throughout it. And you never get sick of hearing Justin Roiland's voice in the gun. He just all through like a lot of the characters. It's just a zany, funny video game in the way that Abe's Odyssey was.
Yeah, cool.
The Xbox itself, the controller is the letdown. In a lot of ways.
Always has been,
The controller is a letdown. I mean, it's not as pregnant as it used to be. Like the feeling to go from PS5 to DualSense to, or is it called DualSense?
DualSense,
no,
yeah. DualSense controller,
To go from the PS5 controller to the Xbox controller doesn't feel as physically different in your hand as it used to between Xbox and PlayStation.
No, but the DualSense definitely shifted towards the Xbox controller.
The fatter, yeah. But for a console that costs the same as a PlayStation 5, wowzers, the idea that you have fucking AA batteries, non-rechargeable.
Yeah, that's fucked.
Like, what the fuck? My mind was blown when I opened that.
It's when you got to look
box.
up to, like, how much does Microsoft have invested in Energizer, or Duracell,
or Duracell,
yeah.
Like it really genuinely. I was like, are you fucking kidding? Like they give you that little plastic wrapped pack of AA batteries, and I'm like, just really in 2012. When was it released? Probably 2010, I suppose.
The Xbox,
yeah.
No, like 2000, like early 2000s. I remember playing it through high school. Halo came out.
Series X, the current generation Xbox.
No, 2020, 21.
Yeah, 2020. So it's for the idea of of them releasing a non-rechargeable fucking
Yes,
battery.
it's 12.
Is that what I said? Sorry, 12.
That's why you confused
I
us.
thought 21 in my head. Sorry.
Anyway, so Pete's picked up a pre-generation Xbox.
Just the idea that in modern times you could release a console that's still battery powered. It's just mind-blowingly bad.
Well, it could
And
be
there's
worse. It could be on the old crank at the front. Eh? You got to wind it up. See, start the engine.
There's also this plastic texture carved into the back of the controller that feels like fucking sandpaper. Like it didn't quite
like a grip thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And and I'm sure but no one's that fucking sweaty. Like it's almost irritated my skin.
Xbox
it's
fuckheads
right on that fucking
Sweaty
borderline.
trolls that live under bridges and suck the joy out of everything that ever existed.
Yeah, so James, hello, if you keep listening to this after this episode.
Yeah, you sweaty Xbox troll.
But it borderline irritated my skin. Like
that's
it's
not good.
unpleasant. Yeah. It is unpleasant. So it would be like, and it's funny because I'm playing with some Velcro. It would be like putting the teeth of Velcro, the hard part of Velcro, on the back of a controller. It just doesn't feel right.
Oh, doesn't it?
But yeah, High on Life was fun. I will play it again.
Yeah,
I'm not going to play it again immediately because like I just finished the game, and the idea of paying $90 for a game I paid $1 for just doesn't rub me the right way. I'm going to go play BG3, which I didn't realize is already out. So that'll be me tonight.
I don't think it's out. I don't think it's out on PlayStation. It came
release
out on...
Release date for PS5 was 2 days ago, I think.
Yes, because I watched a video. I watched a video of all the streamers discovering you can take off all the clothes and then change penis sizes, and they're all very confused.
Wow!
Like it's not like when you lose all your clothes.
As to why that's even a thing.
Oh yeah, well like in most RPG games, you take the clothes off an enemy and it's just
they've got the underpants on.
They got the weird undies on, the cloth undies on. Yeah, nah. This is full blown nudity. There was a whole thing today, like a thing of streamers like going, "Oh shit, that's a massive dick." Okay. Well,
I mean,
I wonder if it's like the start of Mario 64, where you get to like. You used to be able to pull Mario's face by clicking and swinging it. You can just do that with the dick. Just set a pendulum motor. Like,
okay. So apart from
Cradle,
perpetual motion.
Hey, you want to see my Newton's cradle? All right.
3rd of August it came out. So 2 days.
It's the 5th of August. So yep, you're on.
Okay, I thought 3rd of August was just the PC full release.
Don't think. I hope you're wrong. So I'll be playing that tonight. Also,
my Steam download on my PC was 81 gigabytes, even though I've had the game for 2.5 years.
And the advice that everyone is giving,
for Baldur's Gate 3,
the advice everyone is giving is delete your pre-release save games before you start the game.
Oh, well, I haven't. I knew the saves.
Peter, Baldur's Gate 3 is still under pre-order on the PlayStation Store.
Yeah,
damn
on
it!
PlayStation. Yeah, 3rd of August was the PC release.
But hang on. No, it's not out for another month.
Yeah,
motherfucker.
Yeah,
sorry, pal.
Sure, I was right about that.
Larian is apparently having trouble fitting the game on Xbox Series S. So at this point, it's an accidental exclusive. They have every intention of releasing it to Xbox, but they can't do it at the moment.
They can't fit it. They can't fit it on the hard drive.
Sorry, I will just fact check myself there. So 3rd of September is the digital deluxe edition, which gives you this 72 hours early access, and you paid $20 more.
Right.
The base game comes out on the 7th
of September.
Yes.
That sucks dick because it clashes with when Starfield out. I'm pretty sure it's around the same time.
I reckon Baldur's Gate's like
6th of September.
Game.
Yeah. So they both come out basically on the same fucking day.
That's all right. You can go download PGA 20K23 and play some golf all night.
The other thing I just wanted to mention on that is that Larian has confirmed that after a creative break, they will be returning to the Divinity Original Sin world and releasing a third game,
good,
which I'm very happy about.
Yeah.
Are any excess involved?
Tom, after you finish giving yourself an uppercut.
Are you winning,
son? Oh, I crack myself up so often. And look, if you're not making jokes for yourself, who are you making jokes for? That's the thing I say in my daily life, and what I say to Emma every time. She's like, "Stop laughing at yourself." I was like, "No, I'm hilarious." I'm back in Skyrim. I'm loving every second of it. That's I don't know how many hours in. I don't know. I've had this week off. I've got next week off, and I've literally been playing the mantra of wake up, Skyrim, eat, Skyrim, repeat, sleep. Like, it's all I've been doing.
Walk,
It's been
Jasper.
great. Yeah, he's not getting a second walk tonight. Sorry, pal. Yeah, it's look, for a 10-year-old game, it's holding up. The changes they made because I've got the special edition they released for the PS5, PS4. Yeah, there are some slight enhancements they've made. It still looks and feels like it did on the PS3. But look, nothing beats just meandering through the wilderness at night, and you look up and the music's playing. There's a borealis going across the sky, and then the two moons are rising in the east, and you're just like, fuck yeah, I'm back. I'm back where I belong. So yeah, I forgot that you could be everything all at once, not everywhere. You can be everything all at once in this game. So yes, I'm currently I'm 2/3 of the way through the Companions quest. I've just started Thieves Guild. I've done the initial part of the Dark Brotherhood. I've joined the college in Winterhold. And I've done the most RPG thing I can in this modern day and era. And I've bought 3 plots of land and built 3 houses on it. Because I can't do that in real life because of the world we live in. So yeah, no, that was Emma was just like, "Are you actually building houses?" I was like, "Yep. That's what I'm doing. It's a role playing game. It's fantasy. It's fantasy. So it's a fantasy role playing game. So I build houses. Yeah, look, it's held up. It really does.
I genuinely don't remember playing the game for that long.
Man,
it would have been recorded on this podcast at the very start, but
I'm going to sink easily. I can probably look up how long I've put into it so far.
And I can on my Steam as well.
Yeah. So far, I have played it 28 times. I have put 68 hours into it, and I'm currently sitting at 32% of the trophies required for everything, for all the DLCs. Yeah, so I'm going to I've never played the DLC, so I'm really excited to be through them. My average play time is probably false. It says only play for 2 hours and 26 minutes at a time. Absolutely balderdash. That is a lie and a half. I sit there for 8 hours a day at the moment, just smashing through quests. I definitely did have to turn on every time I walk through a door that goes to a new area, it auto saves because I always forget to save. And fuck me, the amount of times I've been running around the wilderness doing shit and discovering new places and like, oh, I'll probably have to come back to that later. I'll come back to that later. And then you just like run down the wilderness and you jump off a mountain. And you're like, fuck, I'm going to die. Yep, here we go. Shit. And then you die and reset. And it's like, I just lost like 40 minutes of exploring. Fucking hell. But yeah, I'm loving it. I'm loving being back. It is definitely hands down my favorite game of all time. I fucking love this game. Emma's fear that I would, because I listen to Skyrim music to fall asleep when I can't fall asleep sometimes. And so she was a bit worried that I'd be playing it and she'd walk out and like the music would just like lull me into a sense of sleep and I'd be sitting there with the controller just like passed out. Hasn't happened. But yeah, probably because I'm shouting too much. You know, little Fusro da every opportunity you can. Yeah. But yeah, loving it. Absolutely winning. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Winning.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Cool.
And that's us.
I think
Tom needs to hit the road an hour and 10 minutes late.
Fuck the dogs.
Fuck the dogs.
Fuck the dogs. Nah, it's fine. I'm actually getting my phone is blowing up next to me, being like, "Where the fuck are you? We're trying to order dinner." Like, yeah, I'm coming. I look at my Lion bike across the road waiting for me, my glorious chariot.
At least it's still there. You'd be shitty right now if someone had taken it.
Nah, I'm right near a train station. There's always like 3 or 4 there. So
yeah, okay.
Anyway,
thank you very much for listening. If you've made it this far, hit that like button and subscribe, and go to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review, please. Someone left us a 4-star review.
I don't know who you are, but I have a very specific set of skills.
And we had a 1-star review, and that was just like, well,
Oh, that's fair. No, that's entirely fair.
Please leave us a 5-star review. It helps the algorithm feed our shit to a larger audience. Yes.
And we love that algorithm.
We love
Boop, 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 boop.
that algorithm. Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Goodbye. And good luck.
Bye.